Oh, welcome to the stream. All right, my name is Ace, and I'm going to be your host today. And Chris, thank you so much for the raid. Thank you. All right, so today is going to be a little special presentation here. I am going to be going over the entire story and all the lore that has to do with Kingdom Hearts. This was a suggested stream, also voted stream. Yeah, I shaved. So I that's the other thing I'm doing too is so I did a Sora cosplay a couple days ago. I went to a convention. That's a small little convention. So yeah, so because I'm doing Sora doesn't have a beard or anything, so I shaved, but I haven't shaved in a couple days, so it's coming back already. I grow a beard like it's no one's business. So yeah, and so yeah, I'm doing that, and then I'm actually going to be cosplaying again in a couple weeks for a convention I'm going to be going to that I'm also tabling at. So for anyone who's in the Phoenix area around Memorial Day weekend, I will be going out. I will be at the Phoenix Fan Fusion. Why you not warning me? I was shocked. sorry. So me and my hair. So what was I saying? Yeah, so I guess I'll just go into a few announcements here before we get into the presentation. So anyone who's in the Phoenix area around Memorial Day weekend, I will be attending the Phoenix Fan Fusion. I'll be all weekend. I will be tabling. I have a table there. That's the Royal Flush Studios table. I think it's C405. I think is the booth number. So I will be there all weekend. I'll be masters oriented, so I'll be selling my 2 books that I published. I'll be selling art I've done, some posters and stuff like that. I'll have some stickers, some Chibitana stickers. Also, kind of last minute, but I decided to sell some fan art that I've done here on the stream, actually. So I'll be selling those, and everything will be signed to. Everything I purchase, I'll go ahead and or everything you guys purchase, I'll go ahead and sign. So yeah, I will be there all weekend. It's from the 27th to the 29th. For anyone, it's in the Phoenix area at the Phoenix Convention Center. So yeah, that's that. And then also just to let everyone know that, speaking of the Masters, I do have a game out, an indie game called Master Survival. It is up on Steam right now. If you do the command exclamation mark the Masters up there, or I think it's just Masters. The Masters. You go and put that in. That's going to give you all the information on that. So but the game real quick is just it's a survival game, a top-down hack and slash survival game, where you play as Tana, one of the characters of the Masters, and you get stuck into a simulation, and you're just trying to get out and stuff and fight the bad guy and fight shadow dwellers and things like that. So thank you Chris for that. Yeah, the link's right there. Thanks to Chris. What is the con called? One of my besties lives out there. I was wondering if he's going. It's called Phoenix Fan Fusion. Used to be called was it Phoenix Comic Con? Yeah, Phoenix Comic Con. But because this convention is not owned by the so a little story behind that. The San Diego Comic Con, like the big Comic Con that happens, that company that owns that company, I think they also own the one in New York too. But the company that owns that was basically suing all the rest of the conventions that were going with the name of Comic-Con. So yeah, so I think out of just to avoid being sued, they changed their name to Fan Fusion. So, but I've been going to that same convention for like years, like back when it was like a small convention in like Mesa, Arizona. Now it's in Phoenix. So all right, so with that all the way, I am gonna go ahead and get the thing started up here. Give me a second here. I have to Oh, that's the wrong one. Keep pressing wrong buttons here. On presentation, here we go. Bring this over to this. Okay. Why aren't you? I am prepared. Not prepared. I'm prepared. We talked about. I did also disable some things here. Something that I normally would have, like the crab rave and things like that, because of the fact that I'm doing this presentation. I don't really want too many distractions. I'm okay with the noises and stuff from the redeems and stuff. That's fine. But things like the crab rave and things and what was it, the sad violins, I'm just not gonna be able to have those in the stream. But I'll enable them back after the stream. So. Also, for those anyone who misses this or just misses part of it, I will be getting this over to YouTube as well. So I don't know, either in a edited format or I'll just straight export it out to YouTube. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see. All right. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the presentation. I went ahead and changed my gameplay display thing just for this particular stream. I'll go ahead and change it back. All right, so gonna be a lot of talking. I do have water. I can distract it. You can distract me a little bit. I do have, there's some redeems in there, so you can't ask me to take my hat off. You can't ask me to. You can't change the scene or anything like that. Unfortunately, not in this stream, not today. Okay, so this is gonna be a long video. Possibly. I don't know how long it's gonna be, but there's like 80 something slides, so we'll see. All right, so the story and lore of Kingdom Hearts. This is a long game, and this is how long it is. This is how many games there are. This is the exact timeline, chronologically, not in order of release. This is chronologically. This is even including the new games that are coming out. So, so we got, Kingdom Hearts Union, Kingdom Hearts Key, Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, which is basically more or less the same game. And then we also have Kingdom Hearts back cover. That's also just like that's a movie that takes place at the same exact time Union Cross. So but it focuses more on some other characters rather than the player character that you play as in Kingdom Hearts Union and Kingdom Hearts Great Key. Kingdom Hearts Missing Link, that's one of the new games, so it's gonna be coming out. So we're not gonna be covering that, but I just wanted to show that's where it's gonna be taking place about in the timeline, as far as my knowledge, anyways, of that. And then we have Kingdom Hearts Dark Road, which is an expansion of the Kingdom Hearts Union game, but it's it time skips into the future, and this is where you play as the main villain of the series, Master Xehanort. This is like his kind of backstory. Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. That's that one's about Terra, Aqua, and Ventus. That takes place 10 years before Kingdom Hearts 1. Bust up the secret episode, which I don't know if I'll be covering that actually, but that's where it is in the timeline. That one was just a really quick, like, it just shows Aqua in the Realm of Darkness. Not too much happens in that one, so I don't know if I'll be covering it or not. I don't remember. Kingdom Hearts 1, that one's about about Sora. That's like the first game ever came out in the series, and his first adventure. Birth by Sleep, which is like, it goes back to Aqua, but it's like it takes place at the very end of Kingdom Hearts 1, so it's kind of like this is kind of both taking place at the same time. Kingdom Hearts 358/2, so this isn't a weird spot. So this kind of takes place right at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, and then it kind of ends right at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2. So it's kind of in this weird area right here in the timeline. It's taking place at the same time as Chain of Memories, which is after it still focused on Sora. That one is where he goes to Castle Oblivion. And Kingdom Hearts 358/2, that one focuses on Roxas and his time in the organization, which we'll get all into that. Everything will get explained, trust me. Kingdom Hearts 2, that's picking up after a year after Chain of Memories. Sora wakes up from his sleep, which again we'll get into, and it continues his adventure finding his friends. That's what happens in Kingdom Hearts 1. He's trying to find his friends. Kingdom Hearts Coded, that's after Kingdom Hearts 2. That one's a small little game. We'll go over that. Teamed Up Distance. That's kind of in after 2. It puts him there preparing for the events that happen in Kingdom Hearts 3, which that's Kingdom Hearts 3. Million Memory. That's after 3, and then we will for Kingdom Hearts 4. Since there's not a whole lot to talk about there, because that game's coming kind of probably in like 3 years, maybe longer. From what some people like to say, people say, "Oh, we'll come out to like 2035, whatever." Let's just kind of focus. Yeah, we will. What we will for Kingdom Hearts 4, what we'll do is we will discuss everything that we know that's gonna go into Kingdom Hearts 4, like what to look for. So, just 2036 or bust. Yeah, right. That's pretty much how a lot of people are with that game. With how Kingdom Hearts is released. That it's never gonna come out. All right, so going all the way back to the beginning of the timeline. As for the games, anyways. Because there is the timeline. Technically, I will go over this, but they mentioned that there's stuff that happens even before this. So, but it's all just like fairy tale myths and stuff like that. But, so Kingdom Hearts Key / Union Cross, and also back cover. So this is a mobile game taking place a very long time before Kingdom Hearts 1. Back cover is a series of cutscenes that includes Kingdom Hearts 2. That is included in Kingdom Hearts 2.8. I think it's in the story so far as well. So this game came out. I think Key came out on the phones in Japan. I think we got that here, and then it was kind of redone as Union Cross. So the story is that you play as a custom Keyblade wielder. You get to play as your own avatar. As part of a union that you choose to be part of. The unions are Anguis, I think how you pronounce that. Leopardus, Unicornus, Uranus, and Vulpus. You are accompanied by a guide named Chirithy. It's a little cat creature. I'll show you a picture of it a little later. Which all the Keyblade wielders have on this period. You explore Disney worlds. You fight and defeat Heartless and collect these balls of light. They're called Lux. And the whole point of that is that like the unions are trying to compete to see who can collect the most Lux. So that's why they have you collect Lux. In the game, it's used for currency to buy acts of special abilities you have in the game. So so the main world that this kind of takes place in is Daybreak Town. It's kind of like your hub world. So you go to Daybreak Town. That's where a lot of the all the cutscene stuff happen in there. But then you get to travel to other worlds as well, depending on what mission you're doing. There's like 999 missions, I think. 990 missions, I think, in the game. Something like that. There's like over 900 missions in the game. It's ridiculous. So yeah, this is gonna be a big, which kind of leads in the fact that this is gonna be a big lore like dump here. This is huge. This is a big fatty of a section here. So each union leader is led by foreteller. Each union rather is led by foreteller. This is the masters here. So that's Ira, Envy, Aced, Gula, and Ava. I think it's Ava. No, that's Ava. There's a 6th member also named Lushu. Lushu is not a leader of the unions, but he is one of the masters of this time period. Lushu is later he's given the no-name Keyblade, which is a Keyblade of the Master of Masters. And the Master of Masters is the one that basically taught all the union leaders and Lushu. So basically, he taught them, and then now the union leaders are teaching new Keyblade wielders that are coming up in their own unions. And then he's also given Mysterious Black Box as well. So yeah, all the leaders are trained by the Master Masters. I basically said that. And also they're given a role and a piece of the Book of Prophecies. The Book of Prophecies is basically a book that explains all the events that are going to be happening in the future. It's basically like, this is what happens, but like each master is given like a portion of this book, so then they don't all know what happens. The only one that actually knows what happens in the future is the Master, because he's the one that wrote it, because he's the one who knows happens, and that is because that the no-name Keyblade that he gives the message to Lucio actually has the Gazing Eye, and the Gazing Eye is basically has the ability to see into the future. So because of the fact that each person is given a role and given a piece of the Book of Prophecies, and the Book of Prophecies also states that there is a traitor amongst them, this causes a lot of infighting. And that's basically what the back cover explains. It focuses on this whole entire infighting, and eventually leads up to the into the Keyblade War, but we'll get into that in a little bit. I will note that not a lot of them are kind of important, so I won't mention like what each role is and everything like that. But the one that is important is Ava's, because Ava, her role is to actually go find Keyblade wielders to create a group called the Dandelions. So the Dandelions are going to be meant to kind of keep the whole finding Lux and keeping the Union leaders together after the Keyblade War. So that's that. I actually just discussed that. So, but the Dandelions, basically the foretellers, what they're trying to do is either prepare or stop the upcoming war, and that's where the whole infighting starts. So, like, so some of them were like, oh, we need to fight and we need to do this, and some of them were like, no, we can't fight, we need to find a peaceful solution. So that's that, because they can't ever agree on anything ever. Going back to your player character though, you meet Ephemer. It's a character, it's kind of one of the main characters of the group, as well as Scold. They team up with you, and you're trying to learn the secrets of the Keyblade wielder, the leaders. Eventually you're going through the story, you're watching cutscenes, and then eventually the Keyblade War does start. And basically all the Keyblade wielders die, for the most part anyways. And the area where this whole entire battle takes place is called the Keyblade Graveyard, because that when they all die, all the Keyblades for the Keyblade wielders, they all basically laid to rest here. Basically, they're all like, you'll see a picture of it. I think I have a picture of it. If not, I'll try and get a picture of it. But it's like it's like a field of Keyblades in this like desert area. This is just outside of Daybreak Town too. And this is also where another key character for the Keyblade series gets introduced as well. Her name is Strelitzia. So what her thing is that, like, she actually gets like takes a liking to your character, but she doesn't have the ability to like, kind of approach you or anything, so she's always like hiding in the background or whatever. She does try to eventually she does find out about the coming war, about the Keyblade War, and tries to tell you, but then she gets killed. And this is like right before the Dandelions get killed. And then the Dandelions get formed right after Keyblade War. And the selected members are Ephemer, Scold, the two I was mentioning before, Ventus, Brain, and Lorium. And these are all kind of key main characters that reappear in the rest of the series. And then the thing about Lorium is the brother of Strelitzia. I'm gonna be showing pictures of everything, so don't try and come up with your mind. I'll show pictures of everything at the end here. So your player character actually survives the Keyblade War, and you're brought to the data world. So basically all the Dandelions are brought to a data version. It's like a copy of the main world, and they continue doing things like finding Lux and going to different Disney worlds in the data world, but they're the data versions of them, but not the real versions. It's like a computer. It's like being placed in a computer world. I'm sorry, I should have said it like that. More of just like, I'm gonna show you everything, so I know this is just a bunch of words and text and stuff, but I will show you what they look like, so you're not, I didn't mean it that way. Sorry, I didn't mean it in a mean way. I came at mean, I apologize. What's next thing here? So while in the data world, Ephemer and Scold begin to investigate this new darkness that they come across. Maleficent also shows up. So Maleficent travels back to this time period to meet a and they actually meets up with the character, which is ends up being one of the darknesses, which I will get in the darknesses a little more. But there's basically like this shadowy figure, like it's like completely in shadow. They're made of shadow and stuff like that. And this darkness actually leads Maleficent. Maleficent being from, you know, it's the same Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. Was Sleeping Beauty? Yeah, Sleeping Beauty. So it leads you to Daybreak Town Tower, the tower that's like not in the middle, but it's like in the town. Hey, I can't stay. Let's see, Doctor Strange. I wanted to jump in and say hello. My sound's muted, so I can't hear you. Have a good one. Okay, no problem, Sith. Thank you for coming in, saying hi. And thank you for the host as well. Thank you for that. All right, so yeah, have fun. You're gonna like Doctor Strange. It's really good. Daybreak Town uses a lifeboat to get back to the real. Yeah, so they get to the tower, the Darkness and Maleficent, and they find this what's called a lifeboat. Life leads lifeboats, and the lifeboats are used to travel to the future or travel between dimensions as well, because they can also use this to get back to the real world. And this comes up a lot too as well, and I'll show you what that looks like. Also kind of random back here a little bit around the same time, I think, is Elrena shows up. This is another key character in the series. Elrena appears and actually starts to help out Lorium find Strelitzia, because Strelitzia, remember, she died. So, but Lorium doesn't know that, and she just thinks she's gone somewhere. So Elrena and Lorium start running around trying to find Strelitzia, trying to figure what's going on. They also run into Maleficent as they're looking, and they start fighting, and Maleficent actually defeats Lorium and actually escapes into the life pod to go back to the future, because basically she's from the future. This is Maleficent from the future, and she got sent back to the past, so she's trying to get back to the future, and I'll show you where she's coming from. That'll explain that a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I kind of explained here, but then she finds a way back, and she actually ends up in Kingdom Hearts 2. So she's from Kingdom Hearts 1 and going back to Kingdom Hearts 2, and I'll explain more on that a little bit here. And then going back to the other characters, Brain comes to the conclusion that Ventus wasn't actually supposed to be one of the Dandelions. And they start to question him and everything, and then they find out that Ventus actually has darkness inside of him. One of the darknesses inside of him. And he was the one that actually killed Strelitzia. But it wasn't actually him. It was actually the darkness who was controlling Ventus. So the darkness actually starts to come out, and they start to, you know, take care of him, like basically fight him and stuff like that. And then in the real Daybreak Town, going back to, like, because this is all inside the data Daybreak Town. So this is the real Daybreak Town. Another darkness is attempting to check the computer on the lifeboat room, only to be interrupted by Lucio. Lucio appears again. So they're talking, they're not fighting or anything like that, and Lucio's holding this figure wrapped in white. We don't know who this is. This is one of the things that's going to go in Kingdom Hearts 3, and I'll mention it again later. But he states that the Masters told him that to be here in this room, and opens up one of the pods, and he places this person wrapped in like this white cloth or whatever in the pod, saying that it's a seed of light to be planted into the future, the true dandelion. And again, we don't know what this means or who this is or anything like that. So there's theories, but we don't know who. And I think I'll go over some of that over here. So it was later revealed that there are 13 true darknesses. Basically, the figure that's all covered in black and shadow and everything. There's 13 of them. These are the true darknesses. These are the oh, actually, I'm gonna hold on myself. The Master of Masters plans to have himself, Lucio, and the Foretellers post/trap 7 of these darknesses. While the weakest ones would be hosts of the Dandelion Leader. So it's basically the Master of Masters planned all this. So he planned the Keyblade War. He planned for the Dandelions to get created. Also that he can trap the darknesses, trap 7 of them, and then I'd basically trap them and defeat them. Basically killed. Also, that means that he has to be killing all the hosts as well. So he's killing the hosts and all the darknesses, just so he can beat them. It's kind of fucked up, but that's who the Master Masters is. Like, and that's just how desperate he is to do this. And then Brain. So they're basically the main Dandelion leaders. They're trying to escape the world at this point. And Brain gives Ephemer the Book of Prophecies and his Keyblade, which is the Master Defender. Master Defender is actually one of the reoccurring Keyblades, so I wanted to mention that. So as they're trying to escape, Laurium, Ventus, Arena, and Brain use the remaining lifeboats, with one of them being damaged. So there was like 5, I think, or 6 or something like that, but one of them's damaged, so they can't all go. And then so they escape, and then Laurium, Arena, and Ventus use those again because they escape to get to the real world out of the data world, and then they use it again. Laurium, Arena, and Ventus are using it again to escape to the future, because basically what's going on is that the real Daybreak China is actually breaking. It's being consumed by darkness, so they just need to get out. But Brain decides to stay behind because I think there was only 3 pods left at the time. Or no, he sends, because the player and so the player, Ephemer, and Scold are still in the data world, but they're somewhere else. They're not with them. So Brain decides to stay behind, use 2 of them to send back, hopefully try and save them as the Ephemer, Scold, and the player. So Ephemer, Scold, and the player are basically, they find the darknesses and they face off against 4 of them. The player sacrifices himself by going into a portal to another world and seals the portal. So basically he's like, I'm going to get into this portal, I'm gonna get these other 4 in here as well, we're gonna get sealed away into this other world, so we don't have to deal with the darknesses anymore for now anyways. So that's what he does, and Ephemer and Scold actually escape to the real world with the 2 lifeboats that Brain had sent back. So the Daybreak towns crumble in the darkness, and Ephemer and Scold get back into the pods once again, because the whole world's crumbling. So they're basically like, I'm gonna use this for protection, but Brain doesn't. He's basically sacrificed himself as well. At this point he is. And then later, after the world's crumbled, Ephemer is revealed to have survived, but we don't know what happened with Scold, so we have no idea what's going on with her. Brain actually awakens. Brain actually survives as well, but he actually shows up years later in a world called Skull McKylum, and meets up with a character named Sigurd, who I think is a brand new character. I think it might be a new key character, but we don't know for sure just yet. And Skullheim is actually it's a new world built on top of the destroyed Daybreak Town, and it's founded by Ephemer, because Ephemer survived, decided to rebuild this whole entire town and everything. So and there was one thing I was going to mention here too. I don't know why I didn't write it. Hold on. Oh, I think I mentioned that later. Okay. So there is actual one last cutscene that happens at the end of the story. It's showing the player character and your Cherothy, and it's showing them kind of dying and going into this light. It's also showing these other Keyblade wielders as well, and then it shows that the player character is actually Xehanort. The player character basically gets reborn as Xehanort. And then there's also a flashback scene where the Master Masters reveals that the Keyblade War has been going on since he was young. So this is what I mentioned, that there's stuff that happens before this. Back when it was, when the war was over. The war was actually originally started because they were trying to control Kingdom Hearts. It was which was between the 13 Darknesses and 7 Lights, and so and then there was a Keyblade, which all the Keyblades are based off of. This is the Keyblade, which is it's spelled as X Blade, but it's X is being key. And so they clashed, and they actually broke the Keyblade into 20 pieces. So that's another thing to note here, because that's gonna come up later. So okay, so these are some pictures and stuff I found just to kind of show everybody. So over here is the Foretellers, Lost Masters. We have the Master of Masters, Lushu, Ava, Said, Ira, and Gula. Or wait, hold on. Forgetting the name of her. I'm forgetting her name. Hold on. Okay, this is Envy right here. This is Envy, and that's Gula. These are dandelions. So Strelitzia, Merlucia, or Merlucia, no, I'm sorry. Laurium, sorry. Laurium. Not Lucia. Laurium. Ventus. Ephemer. This is so many characters, so it's hard to keep track. This is Brain. Oh my god. Why am I suddenly forgetting these? Gold. This is Gold. And Lorena, yes. Okay. So this is what the game looks like on the phones. This is what the basically this is the same scene, but this is in back cover. So when you watch the movie, it looks like this, and this is the Daybreak Town, and that's in this is Daybreak Town, but this is what it looks like in back cover. So it's all kind of in the same scene here, the fountain and everything like that. This is Charity. Those want to know what Charity looks like. So that's basically your guide that helps you out and talks to you and stuff like that. So some things to note about this, like some key things to note about this game. I'm going to be doing this for every single game, so key things to note. So you can't play the game anymore, unfortunately. As of right now, you can view all the cutscenes though. So if you download the game, all you're basically are able to do is view all the cutscenes. So that's actually a good thing to do, because if you don't want to go through 900 and something missions, you can just watch all the cutscenes and get the full story. And then, like I said before, back cover is in 2.8. Also in the story so far. So if you don't have Kingdom Hearts at all, you want to get into Kingdom Hearts, I would highly suggest you get the story so far, because that's going to give you everything up until Kingdom Hearts 3. It doesn't give you everything, so it gives you every single game up till Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts 3 is separate from the story so far, because that's basically what they released in preparation for Kingdom Hearts 3. For anyone who needs to go through all the games and view all the cutscenes and stuff like that to get the entire story. So another thing is, so I already mentioned this before, the Charity is created by the Master of Masters. Looking at Laurium has a vision after he's knocked out from the fight from Maleficent, and he's laying in a flower bed, and then Strelitzia appears, and then they start talking, having a conversation, and then Strelitzia disappears. And then who appears is this like woman in white cloak, which appears to be Strelitzia as well. Something I wanted to note because of something that happens a little later in a different game. So another thing is that it's revealed that the dead Keyblade wielders for this era turned into creatures called Dream Eaters. So this is what I was talking about when at the very end, when your character is basically dead, you see the other Keyblade wielders, and you start to see that they turn into Dream Eaters, and then we'll discuss that here soon. I think these ones actually turn into Spirit Dream Eaters. There's two different types of Spirit Dream Eaters, but while the Dandelions are confronting Ven, which is Ventus, about his darkness, and the real Daybreak Town, Lucia and other darkness have a discussion. Oh wait, I already said that in the... Oops. Because I put that twice in the presentation, I didn't realize. And then the other thing I wanted to note too is that I'll be going through all this. I'll be going through the voice acting as well for every single game, because I thought that was really interesting, and I thought this was the best way to explain the voice acting behind all the games. But Matt Mercer, for those who don't know, plays Ira. Basically the one with the unicorn head. this one. Matthew Mercer is actually a really big voice actor, so the fact that he plays one of the characters kind of made me happy. I'm a huge like nerd when it comes to voice acting, so I'm always one of the people that like points things like, oh my god, I know that person, I don't recognize that voice. This was the scene I was talking about with Lorium. So and Srutza, they're sitting in the flower bed, and then she disappears, and then this girl in white here. This was the scene I was talking about with Maleficent and the darkness, and these are the lifeboats here, and this is the one that she escapes in. Okay, so moving on to the next game. This is Union. Oops. This is Union Dark Road, or yeah, it's Cross Union Dark Road. It's just pretty much Dark Road. Just gonna call it that. Okay, so this was a mobile game again. This is actually kind of like an expansion of the current game. So if you actually download Union, you actually get both games. And when you start it, it gives you the option to do want to play this game or this game. And this takes place 65 years prior to Game Arts 1. This game is not complete yet, I will say that, but so you play as young Xehanort while training to be a Keyblade wielder in Skull at Kylum. The story starts with Xehanort on Destiny Island, pondering about the outside world, similar to Sora, Kai, and Riku later on. And he's visited by a heartless version of himself in a brown cloak. So this is like a heartless, like, but he has like no form, so he has like a jacket to kind of show he has some sort of form. But he has basically no form, but it's himself from like way in the future. And to try and get him started on his journey, he opens a portal to Skala Kylum. That's where he then starts his training to be a Keyblade wielder. So a little later on, it kind of time skips a little bit to, you know, they've been training or whatever, and then he and his classmates, including Ericus, which is another key character here, is told by their master Odin, who's like training them, that 7 of the upperclassmen went missing, and so, you know, Xehanort, Ericus, and all the rest of his classmates decide that they want to go look for him. So they travel to Wonderland, and they see the Queen of Hearts. That's from, you know, Alice in Wonderland. Oh, I didn't mention the, oops, I apologize, back a little bit. I was going to mention the worlds, and I completely just skipped over the worlds for this one. Real quick, going back. So so the worlds that you go into for Cross Union is Daybreak Town, Agrabah, which is Aladdin, Wonderland, which is Alice in Wonderland, Dwarven Woodlands, which is Snow White, Olympus Coliseum, which is Hercules, Beast Castle, which is Beauty and the Beast, Enchanted Dominion, which is Sleeping Beauty, Castle of Dreams, which is Cinderella, Game Central Station, which is Wreck-It Ralph, and then, you know, the Keyblade Graveyard. So those are the worlds that are in this game. Okay, going back to Dark Union. To Dark Road, rather. Where was I? So yeah, so they go off to Wonderland, which is again Alice in Wonderland, and they meet the Queen of Hearts, who has darkness in her heart. And then years later, Xehanort leaves to go off on his own, and he visits the Queen of Hearts, still with darkness. And Xehanort, this is basically where Xehanort starts to realize that there's darkness in the world and it needs to be taken care of, but he doesn't look at it in that way. He looks in a different way, like he needs to, I'll explain a little later, like, because he basically reveals his plans like way later, but it's basically like, I'm going to use darkness to destroy darkness. So that's how he views it. So around this time, he meets the Master of Masters, who gives him the same cloak that the Master Master wears. And this is actually a cloak that a bunch of other characters wear. The cloak is basically used to travel the corridor of darkness safely. So he's also given the no-name Keyblade, which again is a Keyblade with the gaze and eye that's in it. So again, this game hasn't been completed yet. They did announce that the rest of it's coming out this year. So there's not a ton to the story yet. It's also revealed, well, again, I don't know why I'm repeating myself, but this is also Xehanort being the character that you played as in Union Cross. So another thing to note here is that Xehanort, Ericus, and their classmates all have the ability to create armor around their bodies, and Actually, Xehanort's armor in this actually makes it reappears later in the series, which I didn't think I noted, but I will note it anyways. And then so far, the worlds that you go to are Skalakayum, Destiny Island, Agrabah, and Wonderland in this game. And then there's something. So yeah, it has the same art style as Union Cross. This is all the classmates that they're I don't remember their names, and I didn't think they don't seem to be that important, so I didn't really mention here. But this is Xehanort right here, Xehanort, and then this is Ericus right here. So moving on to Birthplace Sleep. This is time skipping skin skipping a lot into the future from Dark Road. This is 10 years prior instead of 65 years prior. So what? This is 55 years later. All right, so this was a Birthplace Sleep was a PSP game. It is also included in 2.5, and it's also in the story so far. You play as Ventus, Aqua, and Terra. You're probably wondering, wasn't Ventus like all the way back? Yeah, because remember, they did travel into the future. And this is about the time period that Ventus ends up. So, but he also has amnesia, so he doesn't remember even being in that game. So they are being trained on a world called the Land of Departure by Master Ericus. So at this point now, Ericus is actually a master, and now he's teaching other Keyblade wielders. Terra and Aqua are it starts off with Terra and Aqua taking their Mark of Mastery exam under Ericus, and then Xehanort actually shows us. Xehanort's also a master at this point as well, but he's also old. They're both old actually at this point, because 55 years later. And only Aqua passes due to Terra displaying darkness in his heart. Ben doesn't take his because he's not ready yet, they feel, so it's only Aqua and Terra. Xehanort disappears right after this. At the same time, Unverse, these new creatures called Unverse appear in different worlds, and so Terra actually runs off to find Xehanort, trying to figure out what's going on. And then everyone else is told that Terra went off, so then Aqua is told that he needs to go find Terra. So Terra goes off, and then Ventus is like and then Ventus actually is talking to Venenus, which is Xehanort's apprentice, and he guilts him into going as well. So basically so it's basically a chase. Like Terra is leaving to go find Xehanort. Aqua is trying to find Terra, and then Ventus is trying to find both of them. So it's like this kind of chase from all the characters. So they go to different Disney worlds. They meet different Disney characters, chief among them being Mickey Mouse. This is where Mickey Mouse comes into the picture. At this point, he is trained to be a Keyblade welder by Yen Sin. If you don't know who Yen Sin is, that is the wizard that is in Fantasia. And he's actually a prominent character in this game. So he's basically in like almost all the games. So he's training Mickey at the Mysterious Tower, which is basically his tower, Yen Sin's tower. Terra slowly grows to the darkness as he's traveling, going to these different worlds. He's actually helping the villains of the world, not understanding he's actually helping the villains of the world. So he's helping them with good intentions, but he's basically being tricked the whole entire time, every single time. It's actually just making him more and more towards the darkness, without realizing it. Aqua then meets Kairi. So they get to when Aqua gets to the Radiant Garden, which is one of the main Kingdom Hearts game worlds, he meets up with Kairi there. And Kairi is one of the main characters of the series. And then while this is happening, they're trying to actually save her because the Unverse are there attacking, and it's kind of believed at this point, while they're kind of running around, that Kairi actually touches Aqua's Keyblade, and this accidentally makes her a Keyblade wielder, but it's not really confirmed. It's just something that a lot of us kind of believe will happen. They don't straight up say this is why it happens. It's just this is kind of where we believe it happened, and that is because that little later on, Terra and Aqua both meet Sora and Riku while they're on Destiny Island. And while Terra's there, Terra sees the potential that Riku has to be a Keyblade wielder, and he goes through like a little ritual, whatever, to make Riku a Keyblade wielder, and by touching his Keyblade. Which it doesn't give the ability to summon one right away. It's just later on when it's time to be Keyblade wielder, one will appear for them. So later they find Xehanort and reveals his plans to use Ventus's heart to control the Keyblade. When Ventus woke up, he was actually being mentored by Xehanort, but he was actually kind of in a way being tortured in a way, kind of, not really. He's trying to, the whole time he's trying to get the darkness out of Ventus, but then decides to separate the darkness from Ventus, which I'll get in that in a little bit here. Terra and Eriquis fight, because Terra ends up going back to the main world. Which did I say that was the main world? Oh, the Millennium Departure. That's right. So they go back to Millennium Departure, and Eriquis confronts Terra, and he sees like he's even more grown in the darkness. So Eriquis is like, "Oh, I have to fight you then." You have to also kill Ventus as well, because Ventus has darkness, and so that makes them fight. And then Terra wins and kills Eriquis. And then Terra, Aqua, and Ventus all meet at the Keyblade graveyard for like a final conversation with Xehanort, because they realize that Xehanort's the one who's doing everything. He's making all these plans, and he's gotten them to do all this stuff, everything that they've been doing. And they also confront Vanitas as well. Mickey also shows up to help as well, because he's going to be a wielder, so he shows up. Xehanort also summons Kingdom Hearts, because his plan is to try and get the Keyblade to then unlock Kingdom Hearts. So they're battling, and Ventus and Vanitas are fighting, and the Keyblade gets formed. So it actually does get formed here. So they get close to unlocking Kingdom Hearts. But Aqua kind of shows up at last minute and defeats Vanitas and destroys the Keyblade. So plan failed. Terra loses against Xehanort, because him and Xehanort are off another spot. They're all fighting the Keyblade graveyard, and they're like in different areas fighting. So Terra is over here with Xehanort, and he loses, and Xehanort decides to make Terra his new vessel, so he's like in a new body. So he takes over Terra, and Terra's the will of Terra actually takes over Terra's armor, because Ventus, Aqua, and Terra also have learned the ability to create armor as well. And so Terra's will takes over the armor of Terra, which basically creates lingering will, and tries to fight Terra. And Terra is used in the no-name Keyblade. It also creates this new heartless-like creature called the Guardian. I'll show you a picture of that here. I'll show you all the pictures here. More pictures are coming. At the end of the fight with Ventus and Vanitas, Ven actually falls into a deep coma-like sleep. And also, his broken heart goes to Sora. So, to heal, because his heart's all broken from the fight. And then, so his heart basically gets separated and goes into Sora. His body is taken away from Aqua and brings him to Chamber of Awakening, which gets created from the Land of Departure. Because Aqua's a master now, so she has the ability to do that. So she basically transforms the whole entire Land of Departure into Castle Oblivion, which is something that gets showed up later. To hide Ven, and Ven's in the chamber and everything. So it's just to hide Ven until she can figure out a way to wake him up. Aqua then later, she leaves and she finds Terranort, which that's what we're called. The Terra, that's what we call Xehanort inside Terra's body, is we call him Terranort. So they find Terranort and they fight. Terranort loses the fight. He loses his memories, and he also starts to get consumed in the darkness. And it's leading into the realm of darkness. It's like just a kind of portal thing that opens up, and he's getting sucked into it, getting consumed into it, and it's going leading down to the realm of darkness. Aqua jumps in sacrificing herself by using her armor to save Terra, basically pull him out, and then she gets dropped into the realm of darkness, gets trapped there. Terranort only remembers his name Xehanort, and he also is found by Ansem the Wise and becomes the new apprentice. So Ansem the Wise is a scientist that lives in Radiant Guardian, and he does experiments, and he has apprentices, and he also has some guard as well. These are all kind of key characters for later. So these are the characters here: Aqua, Terra, Ven,
Hawker's
apprentice.
moment.
Oh, Game Hearts, I'm at work, so I'm gonna lurk. Oh, thank you so much, Doge. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the lurk.
Scott here?
You know what? He just left.
My favorite. Yeah, so anyway, so Aqua, Terra, Ven's right here. This is the armor that they create, as I was talking about. They basically press this little button here on their armor pieces or whatever, and it creates the entire armor around their bodies. This is Vanitas and Master Xehanort. And the other thing too is, I'm going to talk about this here in a minute, but Vanitas actually has an appearance of like a dark Sora. I'll talk about that here in a minute. Here's some pictures. So here's Aqua and Mickey, and here's Kairi, little baby Kairi. This is baby Riku and baby Sora. Aqua and Terra. So this is Terra going through the making Riku a Keyblade wielder for later. Let's see. So this is Terranort right here. Basically after Xehanort takes over Terra's body, being found by Ansem and his two guards. This is Braig. Braig's another key character, a really key character in the series. And we'll go over that more. So yes, in this one we're introduced to Braig, Lee, Isa, and a few other characters who later get turned into nobodies, and we'll mention the nobodies later. This is also Final Fantasy characters start to make an appearance in this at this point. In this one it's Zack from Final Fantasy VII. It's like a teenager version of Zack. It's like a slightly younger version of him. I didn't get a picture of him. I'm surprised I didn't. You meet him on the Hercules world. He's training with Hercules. And Hercules in the game is actually like teen Hercules. So it's before he gets all big and gets the armor and stuff. So, and then another thing to note here. So Aqua creates charms for her Terra and Ven. They're called Wayfinders, and they're like this little star thing. I think I have. Oh no, I guess I don't. Never mind. So, and it's a good luck charm, and it's a way to connect them all together. Kind of like, hey, if you're far away, we can still find each other with these things or whatever. It's not really, but you know, it's one of those things, one of the good luck charms. So, I already mentioned this before, but Terra, Aqua, and Ven have the ability to create special armor, similar to Xehanort, Erquus, and their classmates in Dark Road. They also have the ability to turn their Keyblades into vehicles to travel between worlds, which is kind of keep contrast to what happens later on in the series when they use the gummy ship. Merlin from the Sword and Stone also make an appearance here, and he actually is someone that helps Sora out a lot, and also just in multiple ways. So Ventus also runs into Lee and Isa as kids in Radiant Guardian. Lee and Isa are really key characters. We'll get into more about them later. Let's see, Ventus, after extracted from the darkness in Ventus's heart, it became Vanitas. When Vanitas gets extracted from Ventus, it actually damages his heart. And so an unborn Sora actually, which weirdly, finds Ventus's heart and repairs it somehow. I don't know how it does it, but it's just what happens. So it kind of keeps him going. This connection though, because that Sora and Ven now made a connection, This starts to make Vanitas look like an evil Sora. And Vanitas is actually the same darkness that took control of Ven's heart in Union Cross. So it's still there when he goes to the future. And then I don't know why I repeated myself twice again there. So after this, Kairi is kidnapped by Terranort after the events of Birth by Sleep, and before Radiant Guardian is completely plunged into darkness, is sent to Distant Islands, and we'll go over that more later because I actually reveal all that in one of the more recent games. So we'll go over that later. I just want to mention it here. This is about the time when Kairi gets kidnapped and sent to Distant Island. So she goes from Radiant Guardian to Distant Island. And then because of the fact that Ven is now inside Sora's heart at the end of the game, it's believed that this is why he becomes a Keyblade wielder in the first place. The Unverse that you fight in this game, that basically go all over the world and everything, all the different worlds, their creatures are formed by Vanitas. I think it's from his emotions, I believe. His like dark emotions create the Unversed. After Eraqus dies, his Keyblade, the Master Defender. So far at this point, the Master Defender goes from Brain to Ephemer, and then later on goes to Eraqus. As to how it goes from Ephemer to Eraqus, we don't know, but Eraqus now has it, and then after Eraqus dies, it gets passed on to Aqua. So Aqua gets rid of her own Keyblade and now has a Master Defender. And I think she still has it to this day. And then Braig, actually, you see Braig. So Braig has like has a scar and a patch on his eye, and that's because that's from the fight he has with Terra. When Terra first finds Xehanort, he's like kidnapped, but not really. It's like he's like tied up or whatever. And then they made it look like Braig is the one who did it, but in actuality, it was all part of Xehanort's plan to get Terra to turn to darkness. And so they fight, and Braig loses his eye, gets a scar. And then Braig actually later, this is why Braig is a key character. It's because Braig later becomes he gets infused with the part of Xehanort's heart. Part of Xehanort's plan is to basically put his heart and give it to people, which I will go over later. So he basically becomes infused with part of Xehanort's heart during the fight at the Keyblade Graveyard. But this is before the Keyblade Graveyard shows up. The Keyblade Graveyard already infused. So and that's why he has like yellow eyes, and he has these pointy ears and stuff. So getting into some voice acting stuff here. Because again, this stuff interests me so much. Old Xehanort, or Master Xehanort, is played by the late Leonard Nimoy. This is one of those last roles he did before he passed away. Eraqus is played by Mark Hamill, which, for those who don't know what Mark Hamill is, that's Luke Skywalker from Star Wars. Ventus is played by Jesse McCartney, and Aqua is played by Will Holland. So Jesse McCartney is, those who don't know, he was a somewhat big, if I remember right, he was a somewhat big, like, artist, like vocal artist back in the day. And then Aqua, Will Holland is actually not that big, but she is in the Arrow verse. Like she's in Arrow as Green Arrow's sister. So I thought that was interesting as well, that she plays Aqua. So because of the fact that Vanitas kind of takes the appearance of Sora, Haley Joel Osment actually voices him. And Haley Joel Osment actually said that he actually has a lot of fun playing Vanitas because he gets to play this kind of evil Sora. And then Mickey Mouse is played by Brent Iwan, which I believe Brent Iwan starts to take over the Mickey Mouse role at this point moving forward in terms of release. Release of the games. I think before this was another one, and then at this point is when it's voice continue on by Brent. So reprising voice actors. So we had some voice actors from that actually play the Disney characters in the movies and stuff. come back to play the same characters in this game, and this is actually something that's recurrent in other games. So for Stitch, they got Chris Sanders, he plays, and Captain Gontu was Kevin Michael Richardson, and Jumba is David Ogden Sires. They all do those voices in the Stitch movie. Alan Young plays Scrooge. He plays Scrooge in all the Scrooge McDuck. He plays all the voices of Scrooge. He does the voice of Scrooge basically. Whenever they have Scrooge McDuck, they get him to come play it. So, and then Rick Gomez does Zach Fanfare, which he also does Zach. He used to do Zach back when Zach was in Crisis Core. He was actually just recently replaced with the new voice actor, but and then some other ones, some Disney characters. They got Rob Paulson. So yeah, these are actually, wait, hold on. Yeah, that's right. I wanted to note this, that Rob Paulson, which is one of my favorite voice actors. He plays several Disney characters in this game. But Rob Paulson, for those who don't know, he, I guess most notably, plays Yakko in Warner Brothers, and also Pinky in the Animaniacs show. He also does Carl Weasley and Jimmy Neutron. So David Gallagher plays young Xehanort. He's a recurring voice actor for young Xehanort, because young Xehanort does show up later. Corey Burton plays Ansem the Wise, who replaces Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee was playing Ansem Wise up until this point, I believe. Yeah, he was playing Ansem the Wise, and then he was replaced by Corey Burton. Christopher Lee, for those who don't know, is the amazing actor who actually passed away. But he played he was in Lord of the Rings. He plays Saruman. He was also another big one was Count Dooku in Star Wars. So the worlds also the worlds in this game that you go to are Castle of Dreams with Cinderella, Disney Town, which is like Toontown. That's where you meet all the other Disney characters. The main ones anyways, like Mickey Mouse, Donald, stuff like that. Actually, not Donald and Goofy. I don't think Donald and Goofy are there, but you see like Pete, and you see you see Chip and Dale, things like that. Deed Space, which is Lilo and Stitch, Destiny Islands, Dwarven Woodlands, which is Snow White, Enchanted Dominion, with the Sleeping Beauty, the Keyblade Graveyard, Land of Departure, Mysterious Tower, Netherland shows up, so that's Peter Pan, Olympus Coliseum, which is Hercules, Radiant Garden, and 100 Acre Wood, which is Winnie the Pooh. Yes, Winnie the Pooh is in this game. Alright, moving on to Kingdom Hearts 1. Alright, so this was the first game in the series ever. Originally a PS2 game, was re-released, I would say re-released, not released, re-released on PS3, PS4, and 1.5, and the story so far. And when they redid it, so interesting fact on that, when they redid it for 1.5, they actually had to basically remake the game, but they didn't remake it in terms of like better graphics and change some gameplay. They literally just redid what they did because of the fact that they lost the original coding for the game. So they lost the original like everything, so they had to basically start from scratch and start over, but they made it in a way where it's like an HD version of the original game. That was their intention. So anyways, so this is 10 years after Birth by Sleep. You play as Sora, and you're accompanied by Donald and Goofy. So the story starts off with Sora, Kairi, and Riku are on Destiny Island. They're trying to leave to find a new worlds on a raft, very similar to Xehanort when he is on Destiny Island. Sora is visited by a cloaked person. This is Xehanort's future heartless form. Again, this is the same Xehanort that visits Xehanort, young Xehanort, at the beginning of Dark Road. He's in this like brown cloak and stuff. And just a note again that Kairi doesn't remember being from Radiant Garden. Hey Stu, what's going on? Meow Stew, meow. So their island gets attacked by Heartless and starts to get consumed by darkness. And also at the same time, Riku's heart starts to get taken over by darkness. Kairi just appears, and Sora gets the Kingdom Key, which is his main Keyblade, the one that you see. This one. This is the Kingdom Key. This is what this is called. All right. And then so after that, Sora ends up in the Traverse Town. That's a world where you go to when your world is covered by darkness. It's consumed by darkness, and you don't get consumed by darkness yourself. So when your world is lost, you end up in Traverse Town. So here is where he meets different Final Fantasy characters, which is Aerith, Leon, Sid, and Yuffie. And Leon is actually Squall. And I don't think I mentioned this, but I'll mention it right here. So the reason why Leon changes, or Squall changes his name to Leon, is because that when his world gets consumed, that he didn't want to go by that name or something like that. I actually, now I'm thinking about it, I forgot the exact reason, but it has to do with the fact that he kind of feels ashamed that he let his world get consumed by darkness, so he changed his name to Leon. And he vows to try and rebuild his world, which their world is actually Radiant Garden. They're from Radiant Garden as well. And then also he explains to Sora that this Traverse Town is where you go when your world gets consumed by darkness. So eventually Donald and Goofy also show up in this world. And they're there because they're told because Mickey Mouse ends up disappearing in Disney Castle. So Donald and Goofy leave. They're being told Mickey need to leave a note saying that go find the Keyblade wielder. That's a really ambiguous, so they have know who that is exactly. So Donald and Goofy get to Traverse Town, run into Sora, and they team up. Jimmy Cricket also appears. Jimmy Cricket from Pinocchio, and he actually acts like a journal log. So in the game, while you're traveling the world, if you need to refer back to something, like refer back to a world, refer back to a character you don't know, whatever, you can basically open up the Jimmy's journal and he'll tell you, or know like where you are in the story. So they leave on the Gummy ship, which is a ship that Donald and Goofy use to get around the worlds. Then they go to different Disney worlds. And one thing I want to note was Hercules, because Hercules is like a reoccurring world. I mean, especially at this point, you've even got to Hercules a few times. So there he meets Hercules, Hades, and also Phil. He also meets up with Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. Here as well, and they're just, so basically their goal is to, Sora's goal is to find Sora, Kairi, and Riku, and Donald and Goofy are trying to find King Mickey, which he's a king at this point. So they then they also take on Maleficent and the other Disney villains. They all kind of team up, and with their goal is to capture the 7 Princesses of a Heart to try and unlock Kingdom Hearts. And as they progress, they actually end up capturing 6 of them. Riku also ends up joining Maleficent, and is later taken over by Ansem, who takes over the plan of the villains for himself. And then towards the end, when they will go to confront Maleficent, they go to Hall Bastion, and they do end up defeating her, and then she disappears. Riku then kind of steps in and is completely controlled by Ansem at this point. He shows up here and there throughout the series, like throughout the game, and as the game progresses, he's slowly getting more and more taken over by Ansem. Who Ansem is ends up being like one of the main bad guys of the game. And he reveals that Kairi is the 7th princess that they've been looking for. and then but she's been in a coma state this entire time, and that's because her heart ended up when they were being taken over at Destiny Island, or the world was getting taken over by Destiny Island, that her heart actually escaped to Sora's heart. So they were needing her to return her heart back into her body so that they can then have all the 7 princesses' hearts open up the final keyhole. And so the final keyhole is basically what will lead to the end of the world. That's where they can find Kingdom Hearts. So after defeating Riku gives into the darkness and fully becomes Ansem. And Sora uses Ansem Keyblade, which is Keyblade that he's been holding, and releases Kairi and the other princess's heart, as well as turns Sora into a Heartless. So Sora ends basically this kind of shows that Sora's been holding on to all these hearts the entire time, and releases all of them. But that also ends up opening up the keyhole at the same time. Kairi's able to turn Sora back into normal, which that's a key thing to note. The Sora turned into a Heartless. Go over that here in a little bit. And then Sora leaves with Donald and Goofy to chase after Ansem, who escapes their open keyhole. Riku starts to gain control of himself again, and tries to help stop Ansem, but he still has Ansem still has control of Riku's body. So he's basically trying to do it in the form of like his heart or whatever, trying to stop him. So they end up fighting Ansem a few times, and they get to they get by the Door of Darkness, where it is believed that Kingdom Hearts is, and they finally defeat Ansem, and the Door of Darkness opens. Ansem thinks Kingdom Hearts is pure darkness at the end, but Sora reveals that the Kingdom Hearts is actually light. The door opens up, and the light kind of comes through, and it vaporizes Ansem. Riku and Mickey appear to be. Riku has full control of himself again. He has full control of his body. Mickey also shows up, and they're both on the other side of the door, and they're like, we have to close this. We can't let the Heartless out, so we have to close this up and seal it. Me and Mickey will stay here and make sure it locks on the other side, and you guys stay on your side. So they close it, lock it, and all the worlds are actually brought back to normal, because as they were progressing, all the worlds get consumed by darkness. So all the worlds get brought back to normal. Kairi ends up back on Destiny Island, and Sora's like, you stay here, but I promise I'll come back for you. And after that, Sora, Donald, and Goofy continue on to find Riku and Mickey. So this is Sora, Donald, and Goofy right here. I mean, that's kind of obvious. That's good. Everyone knows that. Everyone anyways. This is Kairi, Riku, and Sora. I wanted to show off some of the worlds here, or one of the worlds, because I'm a huge Nightmare Before Christmas fan. So it makes me really happy when they go to Halloween Town. And I don't think I mentioned it. I think I mentioned it a little later. I'll talk about why they're in different clothes here. This is Mickey's only appearance in the game, by the way. There's a development reason for that. I think it's because I think Disney was really not trusting of this game. Like, they didn't think it was going to do well or whatever, so they only really wanted Mickey to have a very, very small appearance in the game, just in case it didn't go well, since the game didn't end up going well. And this is who Ansem is, and he actually is using the Guardian here. This is the same Guardian that Terranor uses, for reasons I will get into later. This is Cloud. I wanted to get in the Final Fantasy characters, so this is what Cloud looks like when he meets up on the Hercules world. The interesting thing to know about Cloud here is that he's combined his own appearance with Vincent's clothes. So he's got the Vincent like the Vincent cloak, and then he's got this wig thing too, which is not I think Vincent does have that at one point, but yeah, so that's why he has this. He has his glove too. Tetsuya Nomura, who is the creator of Kingdom Hearts, he I think he just wanted to combine the two things together to kind of have this one appearance. There's no specific reason why. I think other than the show that Cloud is kind of more, he's kind of exploring in the darkness, so I guess the darkness is kind of consuming him a little bit here. So I think that's kind of what that's supposed to represent, I believe. And then this is Waka, Titus, and Selfie. They are friends on Destiny Island for Sora and Kairi and Riku. So I think it's just to show that there are other kids in the island, it's not just them. And then just a comparison what they look like in the actual games compared to what they look like in Kingdom Hearts. They don't really show up later. I think they show up in like one other game, but they don't. Oh, Selfie actually shows up in 2. But yeah, Titus and Waka, they show up in the next game, but that's only because of it's like a recreation of the world. So we'll get into that later. But yeah, this is really the only game they really appear in. So things to note from this game: it is not known when Mickey becomes a king. It kind of just happens. He could have even been a king during Birth by Sleep, but they don't really call him a king in that, so we're kind of assuming that he's not a king at that point. Kingdom Hearts in this game is actually not the real Kingdom Hearts. It's not the one that's appeared in the prior games in the timeline. The Kingdom Hearts that appears in this one is actually Kingdom Hearts of Worlds. And there are 3 different Kingdom Hearts in total. The true Kingdom Hearts, the Kingdom Hearts of Worlds, and then the one that can show up a little later. Another thing I want to note is Destiny Island has a star-shaped fruit called Papu Fruit, which is when one is shared by 2 people, their destinies are intertwined. That's something that a lot of people believe is to happen. But it's kind of one of those things. It's kind of like the, hey, horror guy, what's up? What's going on? I need some water. I've been talking so much already. Ugh. I still have a lot of talking to go. I am not gonna be able to talk after this. Okay. So in this game, I was mentioning Merlin earlier. Merlin shows up to help Sora, as well as the Fairy Godmother, and Fairy Godmother is from Cinderella. How's your Kingdom Hearts stream going? It's going pretty well. We are about halfway through the timeline. We're almost halfway through the timeline. So let's see. Yeah, so Merlin and the Fairy Godmother both teach Sora magic in this game. So the Fairy Godmother will show up a little later here as well in the series. As Sora, Donald, and Goofy arrive in each world, Donald will... This is what I was talking about with the whole why on Halloween Town they were dressed differently. So in this game, it was believed that if you travel different worlds, you can't tell them that you're in from a different world. And so what will happen is that if they go to a specific world, Donald will change their appearance to blend in with that world. So sometimes they do get different appearances, sometimes they don't. The only times they don't is when they go to a world where there's other humans. So it's like they don't need to change because there's other humans here. So, but if they go to a world like, let's say Lion King or Night Before Christmas, there's not really humans in that world. So to blend in, they will change their appearance. And that's something that's not as, I don't know, it's something that they set up in this game, and then later on in the series, they kind of strayed away from that a little bit. So it seems like the only ones who really follow that rule is Sora, Donald, and Goofy. So let's see. The next one is the Oath Keeper. Yeah. So the Oath Keeper is one of the Keyblades that actually were another reoccurring Keyblade in the series. And that actually gets created after Kairi is rescued and makes a promise to Sora to hold on to her good luck charm. She creates a good luck charm based off of, I think I mentioned that a little later here somewhere, maybe not. But she creates a good luck charm based on the Wayfinders, because she sees the Wayfinder that Aqua has, and creates a good luck charm based off of that, and which is also all based on the Papu Fruit from Destiny Island. So she creates that, and she gives it to Sora to hold on to. and says, promise me to give it back, and then in that promise, the Oathkeeper gets created, which is like this white silver keyblade. Yeah, I already mentioned this before, but Selfie Walker and Titus all make appearances in this game. And then as for when they get to each Disney World, and this is kind of something that happens in the other games as well, that when they're visiting each Disney World acts like a retelling of that story. In this game, it's more of like the beginning part of each game. So, for instance, when they go to I think of let's say Little Mermaid. So when they go to Little Mermaid's world, it's like the beginning part of the Little Mermaid, like probably up until right before she becomes a human, whatever. But it's because of the fact that because of the fact that they're trying to also have this kind of stretched out a little bit, they add some more details too and change some things, because also because of the fact that Sora and Donald and Goofy are there. So and that's kind of like a recurring thing as well with the Disney worlds in the games. Let's see. In the end of the world, which is the very last world to go to, this is where you see the lifeboats that was mentioned earlier in the other games. This is like the first view of it, and I'll show you what it looks like and everything in this game, because it looks a little different in this game. So the voice actors for this are Sora is played by Haley Joel Osment, which, if you don't know who Haley Joel Osment is, Haley Joel Osment was the kid from The Sixth Sense. He's also in a bunch of other things. I think he's also he's a character in Future Man and Hulu more recently. He's in a few other things as well. Kyrie is played by David Gallagher, who also plays him Xehanort. And oh, I'm sorry, I got this wrong. Wow, I got this mixed up. So sorry. Riku is played by David Gallagher, and then Kyrie's played by Hayden Panettiere. And Hayden Panettiere, she was also in Heroes, as well as a few other things. Billy Zane, if you goes Billy Zane does the voice of Ansem in this game. So for those and then I will reveal who Ansem is later. But Ansem is I mentioned this before. Ansem has the same heartless creature called the Guardian. And then Cloud is played by Steve Burton. Steve Burton actually played Cloud a lot during this time, this actual time period. He also played Cloud in Advent Children and other Final Fantasy VII media around this time. Like in I also did it in Crisis Core as well. And Aerith was played by Mandy Moore. This is like the only time that Mandy Moore played Aerith. Mandy Moore again is another vocal artist. So another thing to note, again, I'll note this too, but Maleficent, after she's defeated, she travels back to the time Union Cross, and then later appears back into this time period. And then another funny thing to note is Sephiroth is voiced by Lance Bass from. Okay, I didn't really listen either, but I think it was Lance Bass's NSYNC or Backstreet Boys, one of the two. I'm not a huge fan of them. I do listen to some of their songs, since, I mean, obviously kind of hard not to, but he's from one of the two. I'm gonna get so much backlash for that because I don't remember where Lance Bass is from. But yeah, this is the only time, and Sephiroth only had a few lines in it. He doesn't actually have any voice lines. He just has a bunch of like kias and attack, sounds. So you ever go back and play Kingdom Hearts 1 and you're fighting Sephiroth, just know that that's Lance Bass playing Sephiroth. And then the Mickey Mouse is actually played by Wayne Allwine in this, and I think he plays Mickey Mouse for a while until he's replaced by Brett and the Brett by Sleep. From what I saw, I don't know how true that is. This is the lifeboats in the Kingdom Hearts 1 that you find. I wanted to find an actual screenshot of the game, not just some other picture. Like, so this is an exact screenshot of the game. I've just found this online, but yeah, this is the first appearance of the lifeboats, and at this point we had no idea what this was, no clue. And it doesn't show up again until we start playing Union Cross. So this is how much of a mystery this thing was. Lance Bass is in sync. Thank you. Thank you. I couldn't remember. It was like either in sync or Backstreet Boys. I couldn't remember the two. I figured it was in sync. God. Thank you. Thank you, Horror. Thank you. I'm dumb. Sorry. I'm the dumb. Anyways. So we want to talk about the voice actors as well, as we're talking about the voice actors. So these are reprisal ones as well. So these are voice actors that voiced the characters originally in the original movies, and they came back to voice the characters in this game. So Jodie Benson playing Ariel, Pat Carell playing Ursula, Jim Cummins, voice of Pooh and Tigger. He also does, I think, Pooh and Tigger in Birthplace Sleep as well. He's always playing Pooh and Tigger, always. Every time they have Pooh and Tigger. He also does other Disney characters as well, I believe. Jim Cummins is a big voice actor for Disney. Scott Weiner playing Aladdin. If anyone doesn't know who Scott Weiner is, that is oh crap, what's his name? So disappointed. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Horror. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm trying to remember. Scott Weiner was from Full House. I didn't know, but he played Aladdin. But now when I go back, when I found that out and I started listening to it, I'm like, oh yeah, that is Scott Weiner. Scott Weiner in Full House was he was the boyfriend. He was shit, what's his name again? Steve. Yeah, Steve in Full House. Linda Larkin plays Jasmine again. Chris Sarandon playing Jack Skellington. Ken Page is Oogie Boogie. Hades is James Woods. Gilbert Gottfried playing Iago. Jonathan Freeman as Jafar. Catherine Beaumont playing Wendy and Alice. Wendy from Peter Pan and Alice from Alice in Wonderland. Yes, she originally did do those voices, and then years later came back and did the voices again. So that was something I thought was amazing. She's I guess she really loves playing those characters. So she was always willing to come back. I don't know if she's still alive, but she is. I think she's still willing to do it. But anyways, Frank Welker playing Abu. Tate Donovan as Hercules. So actually, you know what? I think I actually put this down, but I don't think Tate Donovan did Hercules originally. I think that was a mess up on my part. Hold on a second. Oh no, he did do it. Okay, no, so he is a return. So Tate Donovan came back to play Hercules again. Sorry, I thought I'd mess that up. Anyways, Susan Egan for Meg. Actually, did Megan show up in this one? Actually, no, she didn't. Maybe she did. I don't remember. And Beast, who was played by Robbie Benson again. Replace voice actors. So Phil Ortiz from Hercules. It's not Danny DeVito, but Robert Castanzo. I don't know. I'm butchering that name. I apologize. Sean Astin. Oh, why did I put? Yeah, I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry. So yeah, Tate Donovan was not in this. It was Sean Astin. I don't know why I put Tate Donovan for Hercules. He did not come back to reprise his role. I apologize about that. That's a mess up on my end. But Sean Astin was actually playing Tate Donovan, which don't know who Sean Astin is. Astin, not Austin. Astin. Don't know who Sean Astin is. That is Sam from Lord of the Rings, as well as several other characters in several other movies. Jess Harnarl playing several Disney characters. I think Jess. I don't know why I put Jess there. Jess Harnell. Actually, you know what? Let me see. I think because Jess also does other things too. Hold on a second. I'm forgetting why I put Jess Harnell in here. Oh, Jess Harnell. Oh, that's right. Okay, I remember. Now I see a picture of him. So Jess Harnell actually is Wacko from Animaniacs. So he is actually in this game playing several Disney characters. I just thought that was cool. And then Sebastian, so called Steve Aston, yeah, right. Kevin Michael Richardson, who's I mentioned earlier, he plays Gantu and Lilo and Stitch. He plays Sebastian in this game. He also plays it in later games as well. Instead of Samuel E. Wright, who does Sebastian in the Little Mermaid originally. And then if I don't mention any other characters, that's just because that just I'm stuttering. They are just being played by these other voice actors, not really well known or anything like that. At least not that I'm aware of. Anyways, I apologize if you are, and I don't mention you here. I apologize. And then the worlds that you go to are Disney Islands, Disney Castle, Traverse Town, Wonderland, Alice, which is from Alice in Wonderland. Again, Olympus Coliseum, which is Hercules, Deep Jungle, which is Tarzan. This is the only Tarzan game that shows the only time you go to Tarzan World. I think just because that Disney still had the rights to Tarzan at the time, so they were able to incorporate it into Kingdom Hearts. But it's not mentioned again because that Disney currently does not have the rights to have Tarzan. Ariel. Oh, did I say Ariel wrong? Or oh, you said it wrong. Okay, sorry. Yeah, Ariel. Ariel, no. I can't do Sebastian. Let's see, Agrabah, which is Aladdin, Monstro, which is you go to Monster World, and that's Pinocchio. So you're basically Pinocchio World, and this game is all like inside the whale. Atlantica, which is Little Mermaid, Halloween Town, is Night Before Christmas. Neverland, which is Peter Pan, and then Hollow Bastion, 100 Acre Wood, which is Winnie the Pooh, and End of the World. Those are the worlds. All right, and now we move on to Birthplace 0.2 Birthplace Sleep, Fragmentary Passage. It's a long name, and I apologize. This was a PS4 game that acted as a demo for the Kingdom Hearts 3 game. And this is sort of like is also like an expansion for Kingdom Hearts 1. It takes place at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, like literally like in tandem with it, and it focuses on Aqua while she's trapped in the realm of darkness. So Aqua ends up visiting all the worlds that she visited before in Birthplace Sleep, but now it's in the realm of darkness because they all got, you know, consumed by darkness. So now they're in the realm of darkness, and so when she's going to these worlds too, they're like broken up and destroyed and everything. And she ends up fighting Waves as Heartless, because this is where the Heartless are from. And she also fights an evil version of herself at one point, a little later, called Phantom Aqua. While she's roaming around, she finds Ventus, who's still sleeping, and Terra, who gets taken over by Xehanort. These aren't the actual Ventus and Terra. This is more of like they're like manifestations of them. Basically, it's kind of like showing her failure and saving them kind of deal. But she does learn that through them that Xehanort is trying to find the Chamber Awaken, where Ventus is physically. Aqua starts to fall deeper in the darkness, but she's found by Mickey and just pulled back out. And then later they continue on and they find the Kingdom Key D, which is basically just like the Kingdom Key, but it's a different color. It's the darkness version, or it's the one meant to, I don't know, it's like an alternate version of the Kingdom Key. And I think it's gold here and then like silver here. So it's like a different, it's basically just like this, but like a palette swap of the colors. And that ends up being the one that Mickey has for a while. So they find the Kingdom Key, and then this is actually on the other side of the Door to Darkness, and they look over and they see Riku running over to the Door of Darkness, and they want to help Sora and Riku. But they see that there's a demon tide, where the demon tide is something that the Heartless form. It's like a tornado of like a bunch of different Heartless. It's like a tornado of them. and it's going after Riku. So Aqua sacrifices herself to fight the demon tide to get them away from Riku. And Riku's actually unaware of all this is happening, even though it's like right behind him. He's like unaware, but that's just because like, you know, they don't want to ruin the timeline, whatever. They don't want to ruin what's already been set up, so they just have that to where he just didn't know that was happening. And she remains in the realm of darkness and acts like she wants to be like a beacon, whatever, for anyone who gets trapped in there, like someone to help people get lost in the darkness get out. So things to note in this game, this was the first game in the series that switches over from the internal Unknown engine. I tried to look into seeing what engine was used originally, and unfortunately I couldn't find the name of it. It's not, a lot of people like to say that it's the Luminous engine, which it's not. It's just they just made up an engine, they created an engine themselves, and that's what they used to make Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and maybe a few other games. But this is the first game that switches over to Unreal Engine 4, which is the same one that I use for my game. And so in the beginning, it actually kind of shows this kind of flashback to the fight between Aqua, Ben, Terra, Mickey, Xehanort, and Vanitas. Lucio was actually there, weirdly enough. He was there and was viewing the whole thing from the distance, and he had the Nonin Keyblade. And then I don't know why I put this here, but oh yeah, so this whole entire story is actually a story that's told to Riku after Kingdom Hearts 2. The only reason why I'm putting it here is because the fact I just want to show you, and timeline wise, this is where it's at, but the story is told from the future, from later on in the series. This is after Dream Up Distance, and this is what motivates Aqua. No, so this is what motivates Riku and Mickey to go find Aqua later. And the story also explains why Mickey Mouse is shirtless in Kingdom Hearts 1. So this is what the game looks like here. This is Aqua and Mickey meeting up. They recreated the scene where Mickey shows up in the other side of the Door of Darkness, but in this game, so where he shows up and pulls out the King KD to help close the door. So now we move on to Chain of Memories. So this is picking up right after Kingdom Hearts 1, of Sora's story. This was originally a Game Boy Advance game. It was remade into 3D from 2D on the PS2. That was renamed as Chain of Memories. This is also included in 1.5 and the story so far, if you're looking to play this now. An easier way to play it now, rather. So following the events of Kingdom Hearts 1, Sora, Donald, and Goofy are following Pluto, and a person in black appears, who leads the Castle Oblivion. Remember, Castle Oblivion was Lane of Departure that was transformed to Castle Oblivion to hide Ventus. So they end up finding Castle Oblivion. They don't know what it is, though. They have no clue what it is. They're just like, oh, it's a castle, let's go inside and investigate. And then they're greeted by the person in the black coat that they met just a little bit ago. It explains that they must travel through the castle and they use cards. The cards are used for entering the different worlds. So Sora is told that he has to go visit all the worlds he was just visiting prior, and he uses the cards to access them, but he also uses the cards to fight. So this is why I couldn't actually beat this game, because I could not get over the gameplay for it. I got halfway through it, but in the gameplay, it's you're running around and fighting, but in order to actually attack or do anything, you have to have cards that you pull from a deck. So I don't know, I kind of always say that it's kind of like playing Uno and Kingdom Hearts at the same time. That's how I always kind of make the comparison to. I'll get some more water. Okay. So as I progress, I end up in the different worlds that Sora visits in Kingdom Hearts 1. They also start to forget their memories. Or they're also replaced with new memories. For example, the memory of Kairi is actually replaced with a new character named Namine. Riku also appears, but he's taken over by darkness again. So he starts to take the form that he does in the last game, where he starts to have this. And that's another thing too, is his appearance in Kingdom Hearts 1, where he starts to getting taken over by darkness, is actually very similar to Vanitas. Like, he has the same clothes, but it's a different color. It's very odd. They don't really explain too much of it, so I think it's just a connection thing that you're supposed to make, but they don't explain it. Anyway, so he starts taking over by darkness again. He's wearing that uniform, whatever, like outfit, whatever. And Sora and Donald and Goofy discovered that this was all a setup by a new threat called Organization 13. This is a group of nobodies, and they are used to empower Namine, who is also a nobody. So their plan is to get Sora to care about Namine and to protect her, and then eventually use him to overthrow the senior members of the organization who aren't present. So there's only, like, I think 5 of the members here in the castle. And we'll discuss more about what's going on here in the next game. But basically, some of the members here that are here are trying to take over and overthrow the other members. So that's what their plan is here. So the members that are here are Melucia, who is the leader, Axel, Larxene, Vexen, Lexius, I think is how I pronounce that, and Zexion. And then later Riku does appear from the corridor of darkness, excuse me, at the castle, and this is after rejecting the sleep and the rumble darkness. So he was supposed to go sleep, but he rejects it, and then he wakes up here in the castle at the same time that Sora got there. Riku confronts another Riku. It turns out to be the replica of him, and this is actually the one that attacked Sora, the one that was supposedly doing my darkness. This is actually a replica of Riku. So that's so at this point forward, I'm gonna be saying Riku and Replica Riku, or Repliku. So just so they're not confused between the two Rikus. Replica Riku is created by Vexen, who is reprogrammed, who also reprogrammed Namine to obey their demands. And we'll talk more about Namine as well, because she's kind of like a key character in all this as well. The real Riku makes his way through the castle with the help of Mickey, while fighting off Ansem, who still resides in his heart. So Ansem is still there in the real Riku. And while trying to get through the castle and exploring the different worlds that he visited through the castle, he's also trying to deal with Ansem still. This actually ends up being a test of Riku's resistance to the darkness, by a new character named Diz. So Diz shows up and he's testing Riku. Sora ends up defeating Larxene and later Melucia, which frees Replica Riku and Namine. Sora also defeats the other members as well. And then Namine offers to fix Sora and Donald Goofy's memories. Basically what Namine was doing the whole time was actually messing with Sora's memories the whole entire time. When he was losing memories, it's because of Namine, because she was being told to do it. So Namine has the ability to do that, so she also has the ability to fix that. So she offers to do that, but in the process they have to go to sleep. So they accept the offer and they enter these sleep pods. Replica Riku is persuaded by Axel to slay Zexion, and Axel does that, so he actually defeats Zexion. And then later the real Riku meets Namine, who explains what has happened with Sora. And then the real Riku confronts Replica Riku, and they fight, and then the real Riku wins. The real Riku and Mickey exit the castle, and Diz provides them cloaks so they can continue on their journey. The same cloaks that the organization wear and also Master wears. It's the same cloak. It's the same cloak. Riku decides to go down the path of the dawn, which he calls. This is his what up, Dave? What's going on? This is his path to go into the light, like to get away from the darkness. And that's what basically he starts to go down for the rest of the next year here. So this is what what it looks like in the Game Boy. This is what the Game Boy version looked like, Game Boy Advance version.
Drink water, you dehydrated bitch!
Yes, I need it. Thank you. Thank you, Day. I've been talking and talking and talking. I'm gonna lose my voice. This is what it looks like in the PS2. When they remade it as Rechain of Memories. So here's the members that are here. This is 4 of them, I think. So it's Belusha, Vexen, Axel, and Larxene. If these 2 characters right here look familiar, because they are. Axel is also supposed to be a familiar character. I will get into that later. Here's Naminé. Again, she may or may not look familiar. As well. Here's Riku and Mickey, and they're talking with Diz. This is Diz, giving them the cloak. They both get one. So, things to note. So, Belusha is a nobody of Valorium, and Larxene is a nobody of Lorena. So, when they got sent to the future and Union Cross, they ended up around the same time. We don't know where exactly they ended up, but at some point they woke up and then became nobodies and became part of Organization 13. Axel is the only organization member not to get defeated here. And his true plan was to eliminate the members who were at Castle Oblivion. And this was commanded by Sayek. So he's actually kind of like a double agent here. So he goes there to get their trust and be like, oh yeah, let's take down the others. But in actuality, he's there because that he's been told to be there, so he can take care of them all and bring them back, whatever. Because they're traitors in a way. Belusha has a second form. There's another thing to note, that Belusha has a second form where he rides a Nobia-like creature, which appears to be similar to a Celestia on the White Cloak. And this is why I brought that up earlier with this Celestia being on the White Cloak, is because that Belusha has a second form and he's riding this creature that looks like Celestia on the White Cloak. How far are you into this? I am about halfway through this. About halfway through the timeline. Jeebus. I know. Tell me about it. Replica Riku uses a replica Riku's Keyblade. In case that gets confusing, because he actually shows up later in the series. Axel is voiced by Quentin Flynn. So Quentin Flynn, very interesting thing about him is that he plays Axel in this. And he also plays, he used to rather play, what's his name again? I'm forgetting his name suddenly. He's a character in Final Fantasy. He plays a character in Final Fantasy. I'm forgetting his name. Hold on. One of the Turks. Reno. He plays Reno. So the funny thing about this is not only does he play by the same voice actor, not anymore, but not only was he played by the same voice actor, Axel and Reno both look alike too, so everyone made the connection that they were like, well, maybe they're the same character. They're not supposed to be the same character. I think it was just reusing him but make him different. I don't know, for some reason. But yeah, it was just really interesting. So Quentin Flynn plays both Axel and Reno. As Sora loses memories, this affects the memories of other characters that are connected to Sora. So there was a time where most of the characters actually forgot about Sora, especially when we went to sleep. The exception being people who aren't connected with him. So obviously that's Naminé, Riku, Diz. They don't have a connection to him. So Riku is also, even though he has a connection with Sora, he doesn't remember. He doesn't forget. I think he probably does at one point, and then he just gets remembered again. And then so Diz in this, interesting enough, and there was a reason why I will mention it later. But Diz is played by Christopher Lee in this. Kairi is actually voiced by Alison Stoner, who later voices Shion. They didn't get Hayden Panettiere to come back to play her. This is what I was talking about. So this is Belusha's second form, and this is like the creature that he rides on. which is very similar to
Hawker's
Alexia.
moment.
Oh, thanks for the bits. Thanks for the biddies.
Drink water, you dehydrated
More
bitch.
water. Thank you. Thank you. Did it for the water. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right. So now we're on to 358 days over 2. That one always confused people. The title. The reason why it's named that is because it's 358 days of Roxas being in organization, which I'll go over Roxas here in just a second. I think it's, oh no, it's 58 days divided by 2, and that's the number of days. It's really confusing. I remember what it was, and now I'm thinking why I forgot. It's been a minute. But it has to do with the number of days as to when Roxas is in the organization. So, anyways, this was a Nintendo DS game, not 3DS, DS, before the 3DS. And then it was remade as a movie, so if you go and view it now, you can't actually play it unless you have the original DS version. But honestly, I don't think you would really want to. It's probably better just to watch the movie, but the movie is actually in Kingdom Hearts 1.5. They basically redid all the cutscenes as like a actual like cutscene you'd see in like Kingdom Hearts 2 or something like that. And it's also in the story so far. So the story for this focuses on Roxas. He is found in Twilight Town, which is a new town that gets introduced in the series at this point. But he's found by the leader of Organization 13, Zemnis. He gives Roxas his name, makes him a 13th member of the organization. Roxas is given the mission to go to different worlds and destroy the Heartless with the Kingdom Key, because he has the ability to summon Kingdom Key. As to why, I will tell you later. Releasing their hearts that go
Drink
into
water,
Kingdom
you
Hearts.
dehydrated bitch.
Again? You lowered the CD. I see. I mean, I lowered the CD. I lowered the CD. What do you mean? Thank you for the redeem again. Before it didn't tell me to do what? Oh, yeah. I lowered to 100. It shouldn't be asking you to spend money though. That was weird that it did that. I'll have to fix that. Once every 30 minutes. Maybe I changed that too. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look into that. Yeah, I think I made it to oh, maybe, I don't know. That's weird. I'll have to look into that. I may have to make an adjustment to that. Oh, 300 channel points. Oh no. Oh no, that was no. So the channel points, you don't get channel points, you get redeem points. They're the watch points, which is different from the channel points. That's just like a betting kind of thing that you can mess with. There's if you do, there should be a command for that actually explains that. But it's just meant for like gambling. Like it was just like a fun little thing you can do while you're watching. You can gamble points away and stuff like that. But it's different from the watch points that you get from the channel. I'm talking about this monthly first cheer earned against 29 days. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. Which you also get points for like doing things like you get the gamble points there for you get for watching, you get it from subscribing, following, things like that, hosting.
Drink water, you dehydrated bitch.
Quit with all the waters, damn it. I am gonna need it though, sure. Anyways, continue on. Where was I? Okay, so the headquarters for the organization is in a new world called the World That Never Was. And then Roxas gets teamed up with Axel, and they spend a lot of time with each other. Which this is mostly just sitting on top of the clock tower in Twilight Town and eating sea salt ice cream. Shortly after Roxas is brought into organization, they actually bring in a 14th member. Her name is Shion. Her appearance changes depending on who she's with and the relationship with her. So as the game kind of progresses, her appearance will change and look different and stuff. Axel is assigned to Castle Oblivion, so this is where the Castle Oblivion
Hawker's
thing.
moment.
Holy shit! The 61 biddies. Holy shit! Thank you, dude. The 61 biddies. Thank you so much. Let's see what else. So Axel is assigned to Castle Oblivion, and Roxas continuing missions with Shion. Shion starts to open up the Roxas, and her true appearance starts to kind of take shape, which is similar to Kyrie, but has some Sora mixed in as well, and I'll show that here in a little bit. Shion is also shown to use the King Key as well, which is kind of odd, but we will get into that. So both basically Shion and Roxas are both using the King Key. So Roxas at one point falls into a coma at the same time that Sora's put to sleep at Castle Oblivion. So Sora goes to sleep, Roxas goes to sleep. Again, weird, but we will go over that. Roxas awakens. Axel returns from Castle Oblivion. More of them. Goddamn.
Drink water, you dehydrated bitch.
Thank you, Day. You know you get points just by watching, right? You don't have to drop more biddies. You don't have to do that. I think you're in the lead now in terms of biddies. Let's see. When we just trolling. I know you are. I know. That's you. That's who you are. You're a troll. I know you. No, I appreciate it though. That's awesome that you're giving all the biddies though. I know. I appreciate it though. Super appreciative. Let's see. Falls into a coma. Axel returns from the Castle Oblivion after Roxas wakes up, and they'll continue going on missions with each other. Axel, Roxas, Shion, and all start to become best friends. They start to be known as like the fan-made thing, but it's the Twilight Town trio. There's also the Scion trio, which is Sora, Kyrie, and Riku. There's different kinds of trios. There's also the Wayfinder trio, which is that is Ventus, Aqua, and Terra. So Diz and Naminé move Sora, Donald, and Goofy to the abandoned mansion that's in Twilight Town, and that's so that they can continue restoring his memories. Shion is confronted by Riku, who questions her existence and if the Keyblade is even authentic, the one she's using, and tells her to leave Organization 13. Shion discovers that she's a replica created from Sora's leaking memories. So the organization has the ability to create replica bodies, and then the actual people themselves take over these bodies, and that's basically it's the same thing as replica Riku. It's like the replica of them, so she's a replica in a way, but she's a special kind of replica. She's a replica created with the memories of Sora that's leaking out, so she has a connection to Sora, and what her plan is, she's kind of like a backup plan where should Sora fail to be proven useless to organization, that they'll use Shion instead to continue their plans with Sora. Same thing with Roxas. Roxas is also a backup plan. So Roxas is a backup plan, and then Shion's a backup plan of the backup plan. So because they really want Sora to be part of the organization. Shion does actually leave and is found in Wonderland, which is Alice in Wonderland, by Axel and another member named Zigbar, another key character here. Shion takes on Zigbar and runs. Axel captures and takes Shion back, who is now unconscious. After she wakes up, she confronts Roxas, and basically they fight, and she now has to face a Sora. They fight, and Shion loses. Her body crystallizes as Roxas to set Kingdom Hearts free and disappears. The memory of Shion then fades from everyone's memory, because that's all she really was anyway. She was just memory. Roxas inherits her Keyblade, which then allows her to dual wield Oblivion and Oathkeeper, the two Keyblades from Kingdom Hearts 1. Roxas battles Riku in the world that never was, because Riku confronts Roxas. Riku starts to lose and taps into the darkness and becomes Ansem, so he takes the form of Ansem. And then this is because Ansem's still inside his heart, as I mentioned earlier. He then defeats Roxas, puts him unconscious. He brings Roxas to Diz, and they place him in the virtual Twilight Town that Diz creates. So there's a digital version of Twilight Town inside of Twilight Town. His memories are then altered to forget that he was in Organization 13. So things to note in this one, it's not a ton, but Shion takes the form of Ventus when Zigbar confronts her in the Alice in Wonderland world. And that is because of who Zigbar is. I will mention that later. Shion is voiced by Alison Soner. Again, she played Kairi in the last game, so she's playing Shion here. Shion's Kingdom Key is a replica of the real Kingdom Key, similar to replica Riku's Keyblade. The worlds that you go to in this one are Twilight Town, World That Never Was, Agrabah, again Aladdin, Beast Castle, that's Beauty and the Beast, Olympus Coliseum, Halloween Town, Wonderland, Neverland, Disney Islands, and also Castle Oblivion. So these are the list of organization members. I wanted to go over that here. So because they basically all get introduced in this game. So we have Xemnas, Axel, Marluxia, Zexion. Which one was Zexion again? One of the lesser known ones, one of the lesser important ones. I'm trying to remember which one he was. I'll get back to him, I guess. Lexus, again, I don't remember who that was either. Vexen, who is here. Demix. That's Demix right there. He's the one that was in Castle Oblivion as well. Zaldin. Luxord. Saix is here. Roxas, and then Naminé. I believe this is Zexen, I believe. Which would then make him Lexius. I'm probably wrong on that, and I apologize if I am. I will probably remember it later. All right, moving on. This is what the game looks like here. It's really low res, and I apologize about that, but that's just because it is on the 3D. Oh no, so it is on a Game Boy DS, so really low res. This is just the Twilight Town here. Twilight Town gang, Roxas, Axel, and Shion hanging out. This is the box art, because I wanted to show what Rico looks like here in this game. He has a blindfold in this because he's trying to blind out the darkness, and it's part of his like way to get rid of the darkness inside of him, so he like blinds himself. And then here's Mickey. All right, so now we're on to Kingdom Hearts 2. So this picks up about a year after Kingdom Hearts 1, or sorry, a year after Chain of Memories. So Sora's about to sleep for about a year. This was a PS2 game. It was remade as a movie in... Oh, wait, why would I put that? It was not made as a movie. I meant that was actually meant for the last game. I don't know why I put that here. So it was a PS2 game, and then it was remade in Kingdom Hearts 2.5. It's also in Story Point 4. It's not a movie, it's an actual game you can play. So apologies about that. It's a typo on my end. So this one starts with Roxas waking up in a Twilight Town, meeting his friends Pence, Olette, and Hayner. They do odd jobs around town, and they also have a competition for a game called Struggle. This is while on summer vacation. Roxas at the same time is having dreams of Sora's memories. And this is while Sora's getting restored. So if you're playing the game, you see the memories, you see restoration at whatever percent. That's because that's Sora getting restored. Roxas ends up finding the abandoned mansion, discovers that he can wield the Keyblade, and even meets up with Axel, who's trying to get him back to the organization. So Axel's through the Core of Darkness is getting into Data Twilight Town and trying to get Roxas out. Roxas fights with him because he doesn't know who he is. At some point during Restoration, Roxas starts to connect with Kairi on this island and actually speak to each other. And that's because Kairi starts to remember who Sora is. Not fully, but starts to remember. Riku is still in Ansem's form, who repairs the Roxas, but it's hood up, so he doesn't even know that it's even Ansem. Roxas meets Naminé and Diz. They reveal to Roxas that they are trying to revive Sora's memories that are being transferred from Roxas to Sora. Roxas decides to merge with Sora, completing the restoration. So basically at this point, I don't know, maybe if I mention it later, I don't remember, but Roxas is the nobody of Sora. So that's why he has the memories of Sora. That's why he needed to go back to Sora to complete the restoration. And Roxas actually gets created when he becomes a Heartless in Kingdom Hearts 1. So after basically merging with Sora, Sora wakes up in the real mansion of Twilight Town, along with Donald and Goofy. Sora is now older and taller, so when you see him, he's actually wearing the Kingdom Hearts 1 outfit, but it's like really small in him. Jimmy Cricket's also there. He also wakes up along with them. He looks at his journal and he sees a note called Thank Naminé. This is kind of important later, and that's in the next game we'll talk about. They leave Twilight Town. They meet the real Hayner, Pence, and Olette, and they run into Mickey as well. Mickey shows up in his cloak and tells them to take the special train, and runs off. So that basically starts the whole story of him needing to go and find them wanting to go find Riku and Mickey. So they take the train, and that leads to Yensen's mysterious tower. Again, that's Yensen's the tower that appeared before in the timeline. And they run into Pete. Pete from Disney, like the big Pete, Pete. And they fight him off. Pete actually has control of the Heartless in this game. Actually, that's something I failed to mention in the last game. I apologize. The Heartless are commanded by different characters. And the Kingdom Hearts 1, they're commanded by Maleficent, and then later by Ansem. And then in Chain Memories are commanded by the Organization 13. And then so in this one, they're commanded by Pete. And that's because he ends up later revealing that he's working with Maleficent. But so they find Yensen. They explain the worlds are being attacked again, not only by the Heartless but also by nobodies, and they must travel around to the different worlds on the Gummy ship. I thought I mentioned that earlier, but I guess not. So the Gummy ship is the ship that they fly around to get to different worlds. Sora, Donald, and Goofy. And then as mentioned, they want to go continue their quest to find Riku and Mickey. Continue where we left off before Chain of Memories. Sora's also given new clothes by the fairies by Sleeping Beauty. So he gets fitted clothes again. Right after this, right after leaving, Maleficent appears in the tower, and this is basically picking up where she left off in Union Cross. So again, what Maleficent's doing is her kind of story is that she goes from Kingdom Hearts 1 to Union Cross, and then to Kingdom Hearts 2. That's kind of like what happens with her. So, and we'll go over how that works later. Sora, Donald, and Goofy travel different Disney worlds and meet Organization 13 members. And they keep calling him Roxas, and Sora doesn't know why, but again, that's because that Sora says Roxas is Sora, you know, the nobody of Sora. They meet up with different Final Fantasy characters again, from Universe 1, including Cloud. And this was, I didn't put this on here, but they meet with them on, they end up going back to, they go to this world called, it was in a different world because before it was on Traverse Town. Now it's they end up going to what was it called again? Hold on, Hall Bastion. That's what it's. Oh, they go to Hall Bastion. That's right. I forgot. So they go to Hall Bastion. That's where they meet the Final Fantasy characters, and the Final Fantasy characters create a little group called the Restoration Committee, and they're trying to restore Hall Bastion to where it was before, and this ends up being their world and everything. So I'll go over that here in a little bit. Sora does start to learn of Roxas, who he is and everything. He also gets a lead to where Riku is. It's revealed that P is working for Maleficent and comes up with a plan to take over Disney Castle, but is stopped by Sora. This is where they end up going the Timeless River, because the plan is to go into the past and steal this the Cornerstone of Light, which is used to create Disney Castle. So it's kind of like a side plot in a way. Like a side story of them going to save the Disney Castle. Axel appears on Destiny Island and attempt to capture Kairi to get to Sora, but Kairi escapes into a portal and ends up in Twilight Town. Sora heads to Hollow Bastion again later on, because in the game you go through all the worlds and then you go through all of them twice. So in the second visit Hollow Bastion, there's an army of Heartless, and this is like a famous battle. It's like the thousand Heartless battle. You literally fight like 1,000 Heartless. The hearts at this point are split up. The hearts, wait, I think that was a typo. Hold on. The Heartless, that's what I meant. So the Heartless are split up at this point. So some of the Heartless are commanded by Maleficent, and the others are commanded by the organization. Maleficent realizes that the organization is a threat to her own plans, and actually kind of helps out Sora. So it's kind of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, you know, kind of deal. So it is revealed that Sora's Keyblade releases hearts into Kingdom Hearts. That's something that Saïx tells Sora. It's like, if you need to continue defeating the Heartless so that we can power up Kingdom Hearts and we can fulfill our plans and stuff. They learn from Ansem the Wise. They learn from Ansem Wise's study in Hollow Bastion that Xehanort studied under Ansem before turning himself into a Heartless, Ansem Secret of Darkness, and also create Xemnas. So to summarize all that, Terranort, while studying under Ansem the Wise, was studying the Heartless, gets consumed by that, and he starts creating the Heartless. He turns himself into a Heartless, which creates Ansem the Seeker of Darkness, which then also creates Xemnas, the leader of the Organization 13. So yes, we are still fighting Xehanort. We've been fighting Xehanort this whole entire time, actually. Just different versions of him. Axel successfully captures Kairi and brings her to the world that never was, beamed up with Naminé. While visiting Hollow Bastion, returning from Space Paranoid, which is Tron World, with the help of Tron, they discover that Hollow Bastion was actually Radiant Guardian. The Restoration Committee then starts to work towards restoring the world back to the way it was before. So after visiting all the Disney World, Sora, Donald, and Goofy head to the world that never was and fights the organization. Axel decides that he wants to help Sora, but he ends up sacrificing himself in the process in order to help Sora get to the world that never was. Sora is then also confronted by Roxas at one point, and Roxas is trying to prove that Sora is even worthy of continuing being like the actual just being worthy in general, I guess. They also confront the remaining members of the organization once they get to the castle and in World That Never Was, which is Zigbar, Syx, and Luxord. Maleficent and Pete also appear, and they continue helping Sora to a degree. Like, enough. They're like, we'll do this, but we're not going any further than this. We're still your enemy. We're still gonna, we just want to take care of the organization. That's kind of how they look at it. Diz also reveals to be Ansem the Wise. So Ansem the Wise also have survived all this time, and he disguises himself as Diz. They reunite with Kairi, Riku. So Kairi, Riku, and Mickey, they all reunite with them. Riku reverts back from his Ansem form, and Xemnas disappears after Ansem the Wise's heart and core explodes. I thought at this point Ansem died, but I guess not. He comes back later, and we'll discuss that later. Sora finds out that Roxas is his nobody, and Naminé is Kairi's nobody who returns to Kairi. Actually, no, I don't think he actually does die, but he ends up in the realm of darkness. Yeah, we'll get out later. Xemnas does actually reappear, so he didn't actually die. He didn't disappear or anything, and Sora and Riku go to fight him together. They defeat him. They end up in the realm of darkness before a door to light appears, which brings them back to Destiny Island, where Kairi, Mickey, Donald, and Goofy are all waiting for them. Later, Sora, Riku, and Kairi receive a letter from Nikki, and that leads into the next game. So something to note for this game, when a person, so I want to go over how this whole thing works with the whole Heartless and nobodies and stuff. So when a person becomes a Heartless, their bodies become a nobody, and their heart becomes a Heartless. Which is kind of like the ironic thing. It's like you're called Heartless, but you actually do have a heart. Just think of it like your heart becomes like this dark creature, and then their bodies become a nobody. So there's some weird things about that as well. I think I'll touch on later. And then again, I mentioned before, but Maleficent is able to return this time since she is remembered by the three fairies from the Sleeping Beauty. So the three fairies are the one who helps out Yensen, and they actually creates the clothes for Sora, and later on the other characters. But they're there, and then the cloak of Maleficent shows up, like Maleficent's raven drops off the cloak, which then makes them remember Maleficent, and then that's what makes Maleficent be able to come back to this time after traveling to the future. And I think I'll explain the time traveling thing later because it becomes more prominent later. The Kingdom Hearts in this game is still not the true one. This one is the Hearts of Man, which is a collection of all the different hearts. That's not the true Kingdom Hearts. Sora is able to dual wield in this game through a couple of his forms because of Roxas' ability to do so. When Roxas went back into Sora, it gave them the ability to dual wield. Kairi is given her own Keyblade as well, so she can help fight. This is at the towards the end of the game. Sora also, at the very end of the game, Sora gives back Kairi's good luck charm, so he fulfills that promise. The Returning Worlds acts as a retelling of the sequels or the second half of the games, second half of those movies. But then the New Worlds also act like the retelling of the movies as well. So it just depends on what world you go to. But they're basically retelling all those stories. There's a special cutscene in the final mix version, so they did do a after Kingdom Hearts 2 originally was released, they did like a updated version, and with the extra cutscenes and stuff like that. And it shows Xemnas entering Ansem the Wise study and entering a secret corridor that leads to the Chamber of Repose, which he talks to Aqua's armor. So there's a secret room in Ansem's study, which is called the Chamber of Repose, and that's where he secretly put Aqua's armor in, and he tries to talk to Aqua through her armor. Remember, again, Aqua is still in the realm of darkness at this point, so also in the final mix, Terra's armor appears as a secret boss named Lingering Will. So this was like a setup for that in this game. This was the first time we saw Lingering Will in terms of like release. There's some other Final Fantasy characters up here in this game, which is Yuna, Riku, not Riku in this game. This is a different Riku, and Pain. So this is specifically one from Final Fantasy 10-2, like that, those versions of those characters. But Yuna and Riku are also from Final Fantasy 10, just like that series in general. And they appear as like kind of like fairies or whatever. I think they're working for Maleficent though, secretly. I think, or I don't know if they're working for an organization. I can't remember. They have like a secret plot, but they don't really show up like twice in the game. That's it. The other ones that show up are Cypher from Final Fantasy 8 and Vivi from Final Fantasy 9. Auron from Final Fantasy 10 also shows up. He's in Hercules. He's that kind of has to do with kind of his story in the original Final Fantasy 10 game. It's kind of like they took that story of Auron and made it similar in this game. So I won't go into that because that's a different game. That's spoilers for a different game. I will talk about it. Setzer, I believe he's from Final Fantasy as well. I could be wrong on that. I don't remember what game he's from. Fu, I don't remember if she's from either. I know she's from one of the earlier games. I haven't played every single Final Fantasy game, so... And also Rai. I think Rai, Fu, and Setzer are from 8. I believe they're all from 8. I could be wrong. Someone wants to correct me, they can. Rai is actually just... they shortened his name from Raijin. So... So, talking about the voice actors in this, all the voice actors in Kingdom Hearts 1 return, with the exception of a few of them. I'm just going to quote you as fact. Okay. I could look it up real quick, I guess, but I guess this doesn't really matter because they're like they're like side characters. They show up for a little bit and they leave, so they're not really prominent to the story at all. Naminé in this is played by Brittany Snow. Which also plays Naminé in Chain Memories as well. Some Disney characters reprise their role from original, including Ming-Na Wen, who's Mulan. If you don't know who she is, she plays Mulan in both Mulan 1 and 2. She also makes an appearance in the live-action Mulan movie towards the end. Presenting the actual Mulan in that movie to the Emperor. She also is in Star Wars. She's playing what was her name? Fennec Shan. She's been a more recent character. She also is she plays a Marvel character too, so she's basically in all three sides of Disney right now. She's a Disney princess, she's a Star Wars character, and she's also a Marvel character. She's in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Captain Li Shang is played by BD Wong. For those who don't know, BD Wong is actually the scientist Jurassic Park. The one that helps create the dinosaurs. Yao is one of the characters, and so these next few characters are all from Mulan. Yao is played by Harvey Beardstein. Ling is Jid Watanabe, and Shimpo is Harry Tondo. Again, those are all characters. They played those characters in the Mulan movie as well. James Earl Jones playing Mufasa again. Susan Egan again is playing Meg. I don't know why I include, because I think, was she not in the first game? I remember now. They got Christopher Daniel Barnes to play Prince Eric and The Little Mermaid, because he appears in this game. Young Simba again is played by Jonathan Taylor Thomas. He actually also plays one of the sons in Home Improvement. I think the second oldest, I believe. Tron is played by Bruce Boxleiter. Don't know how to pronounce his last name. I apologize, Bruce. But he plays Tron in in Tron, the actual game Tron. Actual, no, the game Tron, sorry, the movie Tron, he plays Tron. And also Alan as well in the movie. He got fired at some point during the show. Wait, who did? Oh, Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Oh, did he? I didn't know that. Yeah. Zach Braff plays Chicken Little because Chicken Little is actually a summon in the game. You don't go to that world, but he's a summon. I think that movie came out around the same time as the game, so they want to include him. Belle is played by Paige O'Hara. Again, she plays Belle in Beauty and the Beast. Bonsai is played by Cheech and Chong. He plays Bonsai in the Lion King movie as well. Ernie Sabella is playing Pumbaa. And Robert, I'm gonna butcher this name as well, but Robert Guillaume plays Rafiki. So some replace actors. So this is the most notable ones. Again, there are other characters that replace as well, but we can't get everybody, right? So the Emperor is played by Pat Morita instead of George Takei. So those are big ones for me anyways. So George Takei is actually in Star Trek, the first Star Trek actually, plays Sulu. But he played the Emperor in Mulan in the cartoon one. But in the game he's played by Pat Morita. If you know what Pat Morita is, that's Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid. Mushu is played by Mark Mosley instead of Eddie Murphy. Captain Jack, because you actually do end up going to Pirates of the Caribbean in this game, is played by oh, I put it twice. That's a typo on mine. Hold on, I think it's James Arnold Taylor. Yeah, James Arnold Taylor plays Captain Jack. So the reason why I wanted to point that out instead of Johnny Depp is because James Arnold Taylor also does Tidus in Final Fantasy X, but he also plays the cartoon version of Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars show, Star Wars Clone Wars. So I wanted to point that out. Simba is played by Cam Clark instead of Matthew Broderick. I actually legitimately thought it was Matthew Broderick because it sounds just like him. So he did a really good job at doing a Matthew Broderick voice. In this one, Ansem's actually played by, instead of playing Billy Zane, they replaced him. In this game, but he's played by Richard Epcar. Aerith was replaced Mandy Moore. So Mena Survey, sorry, I meant to say, is replaces Mandy Moore for Aerith. Tate Donovan returns in this to play Hercules, so replacing Sean Astin. And then James Horan plays Scar instead of Jeremy Irons. Jeremy Irons is he's a big actor. Tress McNeil instead of Whoopi Goldberg for Shenzi. And then Bruce Lanoy for Timon instead of Nathan Lane. Alright, so the worlds that you go to in this one are Twilight Town, The World Never Was, Agrabah, Beast Castle, Olympus Coliseum, Halloween Town with the extension of Christmas Town. So you go Christmas Town 2 and you see Santa and stuff. Destiny Islands, Paul Bastion, which is also Radiant Garden, Pride Lands, which is Lion King, Land of Dragons, which is Mulan. So the thing about those ones I want to note too is that Simba, adult Simba anyways, and Mushu were both summons in Kingdom Hearts 1. And so when they go to the also worlds, they run into them and like, oh, it's you, what's up, what's going on? So that was kind of a thing I want to note there real quick. Atlantica again. Only this time, the thing about Atlantica in this game is that it's not like an explorable world. It's a musical mini game that that's how you advance through the game. You don't advance like you do with other games where you run around and fight Heartless. You play these kind of rhythm mini games, and that's how you progress through the world. And you have to go back there multiple times because you can't get all done in one sitting. You have to play up to a certain point, and then you have to beat the other worlds to get the other songs. It's really weird. You go there like multiple times. 100-Acre Wood again, which is Winnie the Pooh. Space Paranoids, which is Tron. Port Royal, which is Pirates of the Caribbean 1. Disney Castle, and Timeless River. Timeless River, it basically acts like classic Disney, like the ones that Walt Disney made, like black and white ones. So here is Sora, Kairi, and Riku. In this game, Sora, Donald, Goofy here. These are the dry forms that Sora gets. Just wanted to mention that real quick. So this is, you know, regular what Sora, you know, obviously looks like normally, but he has this there's a form he takes on if you die too many times, which is like a a heartless form. And then there's also, I think that's also, yeah, so I think that's has to do with the fact that he became a heartless before. So he goes in that form again in this game. And then there's a different form. So this is trying to remember. Now I'm forgetting what these are called. This is limit form, where he basically like takes a form of like his Kingdom Hearts 1. That's like his clothes changed into Kingdom Hearts 1 clothes, but like it's like the color of that anyways. This is master form, wisdom form, braver form, I believe it's, I'm forgetting. I'm going off the top of my head. And then this is, I'm forgetting what that one's called. Damn it. But yeah, there's different forms that you get, with this one being like the best one. So you have to really work towards it. But basically how these work is that he, I guess Sora and Donald, Goofy and Donald kind of like get absorbed into him, and he gets these forms. So this is what happens when he just absorbs in with Goofy, and this is just with Donald. This is with both of them, and this is supposed to be like a mastered version of this one. This is ultimate form. That's right, I remember. This is ultimate form. Well, this is ultimate form. No, this is limit form, and then limit form is a form that he gets. He actually just does it by himself when he goes to his. He doesn't need Sora or Donald. Donald or Goofy to go into that form. He just does it by himself. And the thing to know about these two forms is that he's actually holding the Oblivion. This is actually Oblivion and Oath Keeper right here. I don't know why they. You can choose you can choose whatever Keyblade you want though with these forms. Just have those ones. And these are the Final Fantasy characters. So Cypher, I'm forgetting their name. Riju. Hold on. Fu, that's right. Okay, so Cypher, Fu, and Riju, Setzer, and Vivi, and then this is Painter, Pence, and Olette right here, the Toilet Town friends. This is some of the worlds you go to. This is what the game looks like here. This is, I wanted to point this out. So this is Sora, Donald, Goofy when they go to Pirates. I wanted to just make this back to just remember what this looks like, because we're going to be going back to this world later in a different game. And then this is Timeless River right here. And this is Sora, Riku, and Mickey. They're trying to close the door here in the world that never was. All right, so now we're on to Coded. What time is it? 2:37. How long have I been streaming for? 2 hours and 40 minutes. Oh boy. Okay. And we were still like, we're starting to get in the second half here of the story. Actually, no, we're in the second half of the story. That's right. So we are at Coded now. This one, there's not a whole lot to this game. Honestly, you could almost skip this game. There's not a whole lot to this game, so this is gonna be a quick kind of thing here. So this was originally a Japanese only phone game. Like this was on a game that you played on like the flip phones. It was then remade as a Nintendo DS game, and they renamed it to Recoded. And then you can currently now you can, if you're not playing the DS game, you can watch it as a movie in 2.5 in the story so far. That ghostly guy in the other slide looked like Orko. You see? Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I could see him being kind of looking like Orko. That's Vivi. He's from Final Fantasy 9. I want to say that these 4 characters right here from 8, because I know that Tetsuya Nomura did work on 8. He also did work on 9 as well, so I think that's why he includes these characters. I don't think any character prior to, yeah, no character from like prior to Final Fantasy 7 appears in Kingdom Hearts, because he really didn't start working on characters until Final Fantasy 7 for Square Enix. So I think that's why he includes those characters, because he created them technically, which he also created the series. So some more water. He's Orko with the Oogie Boogie hat and some clothes. They did change his appearance a little bit in this game. But he's Vivi is actually based on his design is actually based on the Black Mage from Final Fantasy 1. So yeah, so anyway, so this is a Japanese phone game. It's been remade on DS, so if you're not playing the DS, you can also watch it in movie form, in 2.5, as well as the story so far. So this takes place after Kingdom Hearts 2, like right after. Jiminy the Cricket, Mickey, Donald, and Goofy are in the Diesel Castle, and they're organizing the records that Jiminy has created in his journal, and they're researching into the messages thank Nominee, the one I mentioned earlier. There's also another message that they found, which says, "We must return to free them from their torment." And so Mickey decided to digitize the journal, and that creates like data worlds, and also Data Sora, who was on Destiny Island, the Data Destiny Island. So again, we're going back into digital worlds again. Recurring thing in the Kingdom Hearts. And their goal is to basically figure out what that other message meant. Free them from return, trying to figure what that means, who them are. So Sora travels to the previous worlds again, travels and defeats the Heartless, and also destroys these blocks called bugs. The Heartless, Maleficent, and Pete appear in the actual castle. Well, what they thought was the actual castle, but it turns out that they were all brought into a data world as well, so they're in the data worlds. And Dinosaur shows up to help, ward off Maleficent and Pete again. So through the story, Dinosaur ends up in Castle Oblivion and finds Nominee there, and reveals oh, did I not put, hold on. Yeah, so reveals, I don't know why I put it as a separate note, but it reveals that the bugs were actually an unintentional side effect of restoring Sora's real memories. So this is kind of connected to when Nominee was restoring everything. And actually, there's something else I failed to mention in Kingdom Hearts 2. But Nominee is the nobody of Kairi, which got created in Kingdom Hearts 1 as well. So that's what makes her special, is that she's actually another nobody, but created in a special way. I don't know why I thought I mentioned that. I thought I put that down, and I guess not. I apologize about that. But yeah, Nominee is the nobody of Kairi. And that's why Nominee looks like the way she is. So she's basically Kairi with like blonde hair. So also reveals that Sora is the key that connects everything, which is ties to all the characters in the heart. So he's connected to everything. That's why he's needed. That's why he's so important to everything. This connection extends to Terra, Ventus, and Aqua, which is who them are in the message. Then the game ends with Mickey writing a letter to Sora, Riku, and Kairi, which is the one that ends up in the end of Kingdom Hearts 2, telling them that they need to prepare. the reason why it's so quick, because a lot of stuff that happened in the game is really irrelevant to the entire story. So that's why this is really short. So I mean, it explores more on Datasaur and Datariku, and it's kind of heartfelt, but it's really nothing to do with the overall plot. So, this is what the gameplay looks like on the DS. It looks really cheap and really low res, but it's on the DS, so I mean. All right, so now we're on to Dream Drop Distance, or Kingdom Hearts 3D. This was a 3DS game. It is also included in 2.8 as well as the story so far. So this one, it starts with a flashback after the events of Birth by Sleep. Brig walks into a room and sees Ansem's guards, which is Evan and Lenzo, lying on the ground surrounded by darkness. Terra is also in the room, and Terranort rather, sorry, is in the room, and stabs Brig with a no-name Keyblade. He summons the no-name Keyblade suddenly and stabs Brig, extracting his heart, and in the end he stabs his heart. Sorry, yeah, I'm getting confused. I'm sorry. Stabs Brig and then extracting his heart, and then he starts to call himself Ansem. And then so again, flash back to after coded. Sora and Riku are in the mysterious tower talking to Jensen and Mickey, and they're told that Xehanort's going to be returning, and they must take the Mark of Mastery test to become masters. So what the test is, that they are sent to several sleeping worlds that were restored from Ansem and Kingdom Hearts 1. Or rather, Ansem's attack on the different worlds. So there's some worlds that are from Kingdom Hearts 1, but there are other worlds that you did not visit before that were attacked. But they were put to sleep after they were restored, so they have to wake them up. So the worlds have been plagued by the sleeping versions of the worlds have been plagued by Dream Eaters, specifically Nightmare Dream Eaters, which again, if you remember, those were kind of introduced timeline wise. They're introduced all the way back in Year Cross, which again, we'll get into that. Oh, thank you for the host, Clover. Thank you. Oh, you know what? I didn't. That's why that's not showing up. That was supposed to show up and it didn't. I don't know why. It should have refreshed already, so I don't know why it didn't. Okay, anyways. All right. So they first go to actually Distant Island first before. Anytime, you're in my auto host queue, but I don't know why it's not working or not. I can't stay sadly as I'm going to bed, but much love always. Thank you, Clover. Thank you. Have a good sleep. Have a good rest. I'm gonna do a bunch of shout outs at the end of the video. So anyway, so they first go to Distant Island, and then they actually were attacked. I didn't mention this, so but they go to Distant Island, and then they get attacked by who was it? They get attacked by I'm forgetting her name, from Little Mermaid. Shit. Why am I suddenly forgetting her name? Bad. I'm so bad. Ursula. They're attacked by Ursula, and it ends up being the same boss fight that you fight Ursula in Kingdom Hearts 1, kind of. And then they open up a they defeat her, but they get knocked unconscious and in the water. And then Riku, I think, subconsciously saves them, both of them, and they both end up in Travis' turn. That's where they meet up with the main characters from the World That Ends With You. So this was another game that was coming out around the same time, or actually came out before this game, and that was another game that Tetsuya Nomura, who created Kingdom Hearts, created that game as well, so he decided to include those characters in this game. So specifically, Sora meets up with Neku and Shiki. Riku meets up with Beat and Rhyme. Both Sora and Riku meet up with a character named Joshua, who's an angel. And they start to gather the Spirit Dream Eaters to help them on the quest. So, as I were revealed, the Dream Eaters were the old Keyblade wielders from all the way back in Union Cross, so they're kind of team up with them in a way. Sora and Riku learn that they are in separate versions of the world, and they also run into a new mysterious young man in a black coat. Back in Radiant Garden, Lee wakes up and realizes that he's back. Remember, this is Lee from Grip by Sleep. Wakes up and realizes he's back to his original form. So, with the other members, once part of Organization 13. So yes, at this point, it's revealed that Lee is actual Axel. And then other ones were Dylan, Evan, Alias, and Yenzo. That's right. Okay, so that's right. Zexen is the Enzo, which is the one with the hair, and then Alias. I don't remember what Alias was. Alias, I guess, was another guard. Anyways, so now I'm starting to remember. Lee is concerned about Bragg, who was Zigbar. And Isa, who is Syx. So they were, remember, they were all with, they were all under Ansem the Wise when they were all attacked by Terranort, and they were all turned into heartless as nobodies. So yeah, they were being absent. Should have been with them, and goes to search for Bragg and Isa. While making their way through the worlds, this is going back to Sora and Riku, they run into Ansem and Xemnas and the mysterious young man in the coat. So Ansem and Xemnas are back. As to how, I will mention here later. But Mickey, Donald, and Goofy get a note and Minnie's crown that prompts them to rush back to Disney Castle. So this is happening outside of the worlds. They get a note at the castle. At the mysterious tower, and run back to the castle. There, Melissa and Pete are once again trying to get access to the data world, but are stopped by Lee, because Lee shows up too, while searching for Bragg and Isa. So Lee shows up in the Disney Castle, stops Melissa and Pete, amps Gray, and then Lee ends up going with Mickey and Donald and Goofy back to Yinsen's tower, and there Lee makes a request, and we'll go back to this later. After completing, after basically waking up all the worlds, Sora ends up in the world that never was. Also later runs into Zigbar and the mysterious man in a coat that turns out to be young Xehanort. The heartless version of Ansem that visited Xehanort all the way back in Dark Road. He basically ends up there, and he basically stays there. This is also Sora runs into him as well in Kingdom Hearts 1. And then he basically ends up revealed that he actually ends up staying there for like 75 years. So he's basically just sat in Destiny Island the entire time in hiding. And I will mention as to why, or actually no. So this is actually, I'm mentioning it now actually. So he basically acts like an anchor for young Xehanort for him to travel through time and everything. Because that's what's needed for time travel, and I'll explain the whole time travel thing a little later. But he uses that ability to go to various incarnations of himself and people who he influences, such as Zigbar and Bragg, to create the true Organization 13, which would be used as vessels for his heart, which he would fragment and are trying to recruit Sora to be another vessel as well. This was the original plan, but the members that were trying to overthrow the other members of the Castle of Blame ruined it. So Sora, ends up in the he's in the world that never was. He starts seeing visions of Naminé, Roxas, Xion, Terra, Aqua, and Ventus. This leaves his heart vulnerable. Sora tries to fight back against Xemnas, and his heart gets damaged and put in a coma state, falling into the darkness. Sora's heart is then saved by Ventus's armor. because remember Ventus is still inside Sora's heart. Riku arrives at the castle in the world never was, finds Sora's body, and fights an enemy created by Sora's nightmare. This is actually like takes a form of, actually no, it wasn't. This was later. I'm sorry. He is then dragged in the darkness by Ansem, Seeker of Darkness. Ansem tells Riku that that has been Sora's dream as a spirit eater, spirit dream eater, the whole time. So Riku is actually a dream eater as well the whole time, which is why Riku has a dream eater symbol. So in this world they have different clothes, and Riku actually has a dream eater symbol on his back the entire time. Riku defeats Ansem and gets back into the true sleeping worlds, where it continues to look for Sora. So basically what's been happening is that Sora's been in the true sleeping worlds, but has also been asleep at the same time. And so Riku's been in the sleeping version of the sleeping world, so he's been like a fake version the entire time. So it's really weird, but all has to do with the fact that they were attacked at the beginning of the journey. Riku finds Sora in the castle throne room, where old Master Xehanort is being formed. Ansem, Xemnas, young Xehanort, Xigbar, and several other cloak people are there. Mickey arrives as well. Xehanort talks about his past plans failed from Birth by Slee, Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2. All those plans failed, and revealed that the current plan is to start a new Keyblade War, where 7 lights have clashed with 13 darknesses. This will create the Keyblade. So again, he's trying to get the Keyblade created again. Mickey and Riku are held. Basically, they try to fight back, but they're like held down. So Xehanort can try to finish his plan of making Sora a vessel. But then Lee shows up last minute and stops Xehanort. One of the cloak members then tries to fight Lee. That ends up being Saix. Donald and Goofy are also appeared and defeats Ansem's guardian. And then Xehanort and the organization retreats bound one day. The darkness and the lights will clash. They'll return to Jensen's tower with Sora's body. Riku enters Sora's body, restores his heart, and fights Ventus's armor that is in like a nightmare form. It's like a dark version of his armor. Riku then ends up in a digital Destiny Island and meets up with Roxas, Ventus, and Xion and Ansem the Wise. Ansem explains that the digital Destiny Island was something that he had hidden inside Sora's heart while he was sleeping. Back to restore his heart. And also gives him a bottle which contains Ansem's code. Riku returns out of Sora's body. Sora's now awake. Riku is the only one that actually passed the test to become a master, because of the fact that Sora gets consumed, like basically falls in darkness, he loses, similar to Terra. Lee somehow summons his own Keyblade and reveals that he requested earlier from Jensen to train him. So Lee is now another Keyblade wielder at this point. Jensen is talking with Mickey later on, tells him that he plans to gather the 7 Keyblade wielders, and reveals that he will be training Kairi, who shows up, by Riku. Get some water. Okay. Okay. So, things to know. I wanted to talk about the laws of time travel. This is where time travel starts to become a thing. So, how it works is that you must abandon your body and become just a heart. Basically, what travels in time is not your body, but your heart. Your heart travels into the future, whatever. Or I think you turn into a heart and then reform back into a heart. I think that's how it works. Anyways, there must be another version of them waiting at said destination. Rewriting the events that are destined to happen is forbidden in the laws of time, which is set in stone and cannot be changed. This does get challenged later, and we will explain that. Upon return to one's original point in time, the traveler loses all memories of the experience gained from traveling. In spite of this, the memories of those experiences are etched in the traveler's heart, which can potentially influence their perspectives and decisions. So yeah, that's how that all works, and that's why it's like like Xehanort doesn't remember doing all that stuff of traveling through time and gathering. He doesn't remember it until it actually happens again in the future. It's really weird. It's kind of hard to explain, but that's basically how the whole time travel thing works. So the worlds in this game are Radiant Guardian, Destiny Islands, Disney Castle, The World That Never Was, Mysterious Tower, Traverse Town, Castle Oblivion. And then there's also Country of the Musketeers, which is the Three Musketeers, the Disney Three Musketeers, with Donald, Goofy, and Mickey being the Musketeers in the story. I don't know how to speak French, so I'm gonna butcher this, but La Cité des Watches, which is Hunchback in Notre Dame world. Symphony of Sorcery, which is Fantasia. The Grid, which is Tron Legacy. And Prankster's Paradise, which is Pinocchio. That basically ends up being like a precursor kind of. So when Sora goes there, he goes to Prankster's Paradise, and which is like a prequel to the story of Sora getting there in Kingdom Hearts 1. And then when Riku goes there, it's basically he's actually reliving Sora and Riku being a Monstro. So it's basically Monstro for Riku. Let's see. Next. So this is what Riku and Sora look like. They basically combined the look for Sora anyways. He combines the looks of Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2 on Moradin. Riku is basically like, it's like Kingdom Hearts 1 Riku with the Kingdom Hearts 2 outfit. And then these are the Dream Meters right here that help you out. Game. This is just different things. So this is Sora and Riku. They're in the same spot, but in different versions of the world. Again, Riku being in the dream version of this world. This is Joshua, who's able to talk to both of them at the same time. Sora, and this is Neku? Yeah, Neku from World That Never World Ends With You. And Neku, yeah, I was right. I had to remind myself. And then this is when Sora is confronting Brig and Xemnas, which this is something that's used here in this stream. He goes, "My friends, they are my power," and he shows like all his friends. It's actually used in the stream when I get a new follower. So, and then this is Brig getting stabbed by Terranort. This is Riku in Tron World, and this is Sora in the Tron World. This is young Xehanort. He has a special Keyblade that he only has while he's traveling. It's the only time he ever uses it. I think he actually uses it later too, but this is the only. I think later on, when he goes back to not travel in the world, he goes back to having the no-name Keyblade. But and then this is Handsome Xehanort, and then Xemnas over here. This is Axel, or Lee rather. Lee with his Keyblade. This Keyblade he summons. All right. Actually, another thing too. I think I realized that I don't think I mentioned it before, but in the Birthplace Sleep, Ventus actually meets up with Lee and Isa and friends them, which is kind of like a callback to Axel and Roxas being friends, and I'll explain why later. So Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind. So this is where everything comes together. This is basically the end of the saga, but not the end of the series, and we will explain why later. But this is where everything that we've just talked about, excluding some things from Eden Cross or whatever, everything leads up to this. So this was a PS4 game, and this is also the first Kingdom Hearts game on a PC. So if you can actually get this game off of the Epic Store. So the story begins with Sora being told that he has lost his strength after almost becoming a vessel to Xehanort, and needs to build it back up and regain the power awaken, which is his power him and Riku used to wake up all the worlds. So he needs to regain that power again. Riku and Mickey, after being told of the story of Aqua from Mickey and So that story of Aqua, in the passage in the 2.0.2 story, that is being told to Riku and Mickey, and then they leave to go find Aqua. It basically recaps. It doesn't actually go through the entire story, obviously, but they're basically told that story, and then they leave to go to the darkness, realm of darkness, to go search for Aqua. Kairi and Lee are together go train, but they're brought to some special world where, like, it's like a special world where it kind of acts like it's like Dragon Ball. What was it? The what was it called again? The hyperbolic time chamber. Basically what it acts like, because the time runs slower there, so they can speed up the process of them training. So they basically go into this hyperbolic time chamber world. It's kind of funny. Sora finds his way to Olympus Coliseum after he remembers that Hercules once lost his strength in the past. They run into Maleficent and Pete again, who are on the new quest to find a mysterious black box. This is the black box that Lucio was given all the way back in Union Cross. But they don't mention that to Sora. They're just like, oh, you, whatever. We don't have time for you. Bye. Basically how that works. So he wasn't able to regain his strength, unfortunately, after he leaves Hercules world, and returns back to Incense Tower. At the same time, Riku and Mickey return, and they failed as well because they lost track of. They were following the trail of Aqua, and they lost her trail. At this, actually, they end up in the same place where Riku and Sora end up at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2. It's like this recurrent beach in the realm of darkness, where her trail runs cold there, so they return. They also lost to the darkness. Like, they were fighting Heartless and they almost lost. Riku's Keyblade also breaks. So is Mickey's, but their cases will break. So basically, because of the fact that they were defeated, and because of the fact that they lost Aqua's trail, they basically leave, go back to the tower. They all get new clothes. Riku and Mickey also got clothes before they left too as well. So Sora gets new clothes as well, and they leave with Donald Goofy to travel Disney Worlds again, and continue getting his power awakened back. Riku and Mickey leave. They get new clothes. They get their new Keyblades, and also they're also given clothes that they're supposed to give to Lee and Kairi. So they're told to stop there on the way to on their adventure. But they, instead of going back to the world of the realm of darkness, they actually end up traveling the Disney World as well. They're trying to find Aqua, but retrace her steps from before she was in the realm of darkness. Of see if they can find any clues. So one thing I wanted to know on the story of the Disney World is that while Sora is in Toy Box, which is Toy Story World, Sora is mistakenly called Yozora, which is a video game character that Rex has been playing. Hello there, Sith. Hello. How are you? So yeah, Rex mistakes Sora for Yozora, and because that's the fact that Yozora looks really similar to Sora. Later on in both quests, Yenso calls Riku and Sora on the Gumby phone that they get, and explains that they've deciphered Ansem's code, the one that Riku got in the last game. They deciphered it, and they discovered that Sora is basically sheltering Roxas, Ventus, and Shion's hearts. Riku also mentions that this brings up the fact, I don't know, Riku, this tells basically, or rather, this gets Riku to mention that the replicas that were made from the organization all the way back in Gem Memories, and that then prompts Sora to come up with the idea to, when they're able to transfer Roxas' heart into one of the replica bodies. And so they start come up with replica, the Ansem, the Wise, and Yenzo and everything start come up with not Ansem Wise, I'm sorry, Yenzo starts to come up with the create a new replica bodies, I believe, at this point. Sora ends up in Twilight Town and meets up with Hainer, Pence, and Olette again. and try to get more information on them about Roxas, because Sora wants to try to get more information on him because he doesn't know much about him. They go to the mansion to see if Enzo can help with hacking into the computer, which is the same computer used to get to the Twilight Town, the Data Twilight Town. On the way back, they run into Ansem, Secret of Darkness, and Xemnas, and trying to get Sora to become heartless again, as they always are, and end up fighting. I returned from the theater. Oh, that's right, I forgot. Welcome back. I've been doing this. I forgot that you left. Hope you enjoy the movie. We won't discuss that here because we're talking about Kingdom Hearts, but I hope you enjoy the movie. All right. So there's a flashback scene that happens where Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, enters the realm of darkness where Aqua and Ansem. So Aqua and Ansem, I think after Aqua is kind of traveling the realm, she ends up going to this into the beach where Riku and Kairi, Riku and Sora are at, end up at towards the end of Kingdom Hearts 2. They end up at the same beach, and Aqua and Ansem were talking, and so Ansem shows up, and he tries to ask where the test subject was. He's like, where is she, whatever. They don't mention as to why he wants this information, probably because that they're trying to keep it a secret, but he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, and she's gone, whatever. She's like, fine, if you want to talk, then you'll come with me. Aqua tries to fight Ansem, Secret of Darkness, and but fails and gets knocked into the water nearby, and then gets consumed by darkness. This is why they lost track of Aqua later when Riku and Mickey were trying to find him. In the present, Vexen reveals that he's a double agent wanting to save Ansem the Wise. So, and also sends a replica body to Enzo. So this is the replica body, actually, I'm sorry. So he sends a replica body to Enzo, and I think they use this to create others later. Riku and Mickey find a corrupted Aqua and begin to fight her. So Riku and Mickey end up going back into the realm of darkness, back to that beach, and then Aqua shows up, but it's like a dark version of her, consumed by darkness. And at the same time, Sora, Donald, and Goofy end up at Disney Island, and they find Aqua's Master Defender Keyblade. They then use that. Sora uses that to travel to the realm of darkness and help fight and rescue Aqua. So they succeed in doing that, and then Aqua leads them to leads Sora, Donald, and Goofy to the Castle of Oblivion, and Aqua transforms it back to the land of departure to awaken Ventus, and they're stopped by Vanitas. Vanitas shows up. That's going to no singing, please. I'm trying to speak long. So they're stopped by Vanitas and they fight him. During the fight, Sora gets his power awakened back. Plot convenience, right? And he wakes up Ventus. Ventus joins in the fight and fights Vanitas, and Vanitas I think they defeat him, but they don't like defeat him. He retreats back. So now that they have the 7 Keyblade wielders, they head off to Keyblade Graveyard and face off against Xehanort and Organization, but they are quickly dispatched by an army of Heartless, and they basically all die. They all die. Sora awakes in the final world, which is basically like an afterlife world, and he meets Chirithy, and Chirithy helps him revive Kairi and his friends using Power Awaken. I'm sorry, no. So Sora uses the Power Awaken with the help of Kairi and revives all his friends. Young Xehanort shows up and warns Sora that abusing the Power Awaken will make him lose his heart again. But Sora basically brushed that off. He was like, no, I don't believe you. The Guardians defeat most of the organization. They return Terra back, and as well as Xion. because there's like different fights that happen, like they all get separated out and they're having different fights. They do end up beating most of the organization, and they return Terra back to his normal form. They bring Shion back, because Shion's part of the real organization, and Roxas also returns. His heart separates out from Sora, goes into the replica body that's raiding, and then jumps back into the fight. So now Roxas is back. Terra was revealed to be the guardian the whole time. So when that's the one that Ansem the Seeking Darkness and Terra used. So what basically happened was that when Terra was turned to a vessel, his heart became kind of like became a heartless, but a heartless that was personally controlled by Ansem and Terra North. So his heart was in there the entire time. Xehanort was the last, so they were going through all the organization, and they get up to Xehanort. It reveals that all the clashes they've been doing have been forming the different keys, they've been forming the different different copies of the no-name Keyblade, and they were needed one more. And then so during one of the fights, actually, Kyrie gets captured by Xemnas, and then Xehanort brings out Kyrie and kills her, and that forms the last Keyblade that they needed to, and which then forms the Keyblade, the X-Blade, the Keyblade. Sora and the other Keyblade wielders use he starts to summon Kingdom Hearts, and then they use Xehanort's time travel ability against him and Sora, and they create a portal into the past, and Sora, Donald, and Goofy go into the portal while the rest of the Keyblade wielders hold the portal open, and that actually leads to Scala Kylan, and they have a final battle with Xehanort. They defeat Xehanort. Ericus' spirit appears and convinces Xehanort to give up and just, you're doing is wrong, and he does give up and die and everything. So Sora uses the Keyblade to close Kingdom Hearts and return to their own time. And then Sora then leaves. This is at the end of the battle. Sora then leaves to try and revive Kyrie. That leads into the DLC, which I'll get back to a little later. The rest of the gang leaves, goes back home. They also show that Naminé is also brought back through a replica body. And then Xigbar is actually the only one that survives the Keyblade War. And he has a no-name back and the black box. And he's in the middle of the Keyblade Graveyard, and he summons the Foretellers all the way back from Union Cross. And the only one that doesn't show up is Master Ava, and they don't know why. And that's something that they'll probably reveal later. Xigbar then reveals himself to actually be Luxu. So this whole entire time, Luxu has been Xigbar. And then we get into I was going to get into the Remind story. So this begins with a flashback of young Xehanort exiting the Dark Portal. And this is in the Keyblade Graveyard, and he speaks with the Master of Masters. So Master of Masters appears to him and kind of helps him along with his way. And then he also gives him the cloak that he also wears. And then Xehanort reveals his ambitions here. So the whole reason why Xehanort is doing everything that he does is because that he wants to bring order to chaos. So when he travels the world back in travel all the worlds, he sees all the darkness, similar to Terra. So he's seen all this darkness happening, and all the darkness and selfishness, and he wants to basically recreate all the worlds into a world that he deems to be worthy. So basically, and it ends up killing everybody. And then we'll go back to the present here in terms of Kingdom Hearts 3. Luxord and Xigbar speak with each other. Questions who gives, and then Luxord is searching for the black box. And he's wondered who gave that order. And also starts to question who Xigbar really is, which obviously at this point we know is Luxu. and Zigbar just kind of avoids answering the question truthfully, and leaves. Sora then arrives in the final world where he meets Chirithy. This is after leaving. This is after the Keyblade War, and he leaves everyone else to go find Kairi, to go bring back Kairi. So he arrives in the final world where he meets Chirithy once again, and warns that Sora will disappear if he continues to rescue Kairi. But Sora decides to press on anyways. Again, he's being warned. He's not listening. So, in order to save Kairi, Sora must travel to each of his friends' hearts during the Keyblade War. So he's guy has to do some time traveling, and so he can then find a way to Kairi. So he's got to travel each of their hearts to know what they were feeling and everything, to kind of connect his way to Kairi. So after reliving the Keyblade War again through the others' hearts, Kairi is struck down by Xehanort once again. Mickey speaks with Sora, letting him know that Kairi has been crystallized and can still be saved. He travels to Scala Kylum again, where Xehanort fragments Kairi's heart and scatters them around Scala. After finding most of the fragments, Sora jumps into Riku outside. He travels outside of outside the portal back to the present time and jumps into Riku. And then Riku and the other Keyblade wielders are actually battling replica Xehanorts. And after that, Sora finds the remaining fragments, and then faces off with an armored Xehanort. Him and Kairi both fight an armored Xehanort. Sora and Kairi are now basically, they defeat him. They're all back in the final world, and they meet up with Chirithy again. They secretly then watch their friends return home after the Keyblade War. They also bring Chirithy to Ven, which just reveals that Chirithy the whole time has been Ven's Chirithy from Unicross. So, and then it ends with Sora and Kairi sitting on a papu tree, and then Sora disappears. And then there is a scene where Sora and Riku appear waking up in the separately in different places of this realistic city that looks a lot like Tokyo. and then as they're wandering around, Yuzora is there, weirdly enough, and also Master's there. They're like watching them kind of wandering around the city. This is later revealed as a dream that Riku was having. Riku visits the land of departure, where he has a heart-to-heart with Terra, like basically one-on-one discussion kind of, before he leaves with Aqua and Ven to the Realm of Darkness to find Sora. So and then a year later, Riku visits the Final Fantasy characters in Merlin's house, who are also trying to find Sora. He mentions that Mickey, Donald, and Goofy are searching all the previous worlds for Sora. And the Twilight Town gang is studying Roxas and Shion's memories. And Kairi is put into a sleep and studying to search her memories for any kind of clues. And then Anson the Wise is kind of studying her as well. Sid recreates Sora's battle data using Ansem's computer and the Twilight Town computer, and tells Riku that he has to fight all Organization 13, the data versions of all the data Organization 13, in order to finalize Sora's battle data, hoping that maybe they can find some clues as to maybe where Sora is. But that ends up being for nothing. He doesn't find anything. But just then the Fairy Godmother shows up and tells and Riku talks to her about the dreams he's been having about the city. We will kind of, this kind of leads into the next game, so I will discuss that there later. But the Fairy Godmother does say that the key to finding Sora is in Riku's dreams. Sora wakes up in the nighttime version of, this is another thing, so it's going back to Sora wakes up in the nighttime version of the final world and runs into a young man who Sora recognizes as Yuzora. So this is Yuzora approaching Sora, and is surprised that Sora even knows him. They then appear at the top of the 104 building in the same city that Riku's been dreaming of, and they both fight. After the fight, Yozora wakes up back in the back of a car, and the driver addresses Yozora as commander. Yozora and Sora both question if their encounter was real or not. So I wanted to note the true organization members at this point. So the true organization members are Master Xehanort, Young Xehanort, Ansem, Secret Darkness, Xemnas, Zigbar, Syx, Xion, Terranort, Vanitas, Vexen, Luxord, Melucia, Larxene, and Demix. At the end of Sora versus Yozora, the Sora Yozora fight, I just want to note that if Sora wins, Yozora fades away saying it's not his time yet. But if Yozora wins, then Sora gets crystallized and tells Sora that he will save him, which is weird. Sora and the rest of the characters are given a new device called the Gummy Phone. Lingering Will appears to help end the fight against Organization and fights Terranort. So we could see another kind of rematch between Lingering Will and Terranort, which is kind of cool. The Pixar worlds in this game, because you do visit some Pixar worlds, they're actually confirmed by Disney and Pixar to be canon in the story of those worlds. So yes, Sora and Donald do show up in the story of Sora and the story of Toy Story and Monsters Inc. and stuff. So the city where Riku dreams about and where Sora fights is based on Tokyo. It is based on Tokyo, and specifically the Shinjuku city and Shibuya districts. While Sora is in the final world after the Keyblade wielders fail, amongst the spirits, wait, hold on. Yeah, so after they die and Sora is running around the final world, he runs into several spirits who are in the form of stars, and one of them is the Nameless Star, which we dub the Nameless Star, and tells him her heart and name was taken by somebody, so she wasn't able to tell him who she is or anything like that, because the fact that it was all taken from her. But is waiting for somebody who may return, and she actually whispers the name of that person, Sora, but they don't reveal who it is. He then runs into Naminé, who reveals that so that's another thing too, is he runs into Naminé's heart, and reveals that he's been maintaining his form, because he would be a form of a star, but he's actually maintaining his normal form because of Kyrick, unconsciously. Young Xehanort and young Ericus are shown in a flashback while they were both students. This is going back to Dark Road. They're playing chess. This is something they show a lot of, and it's representing how the whole story of the events have been playing out, kind of like a chess game. The all single game has been from Kingdom Hearts 1, or rather, there's a Replay Sleep all the way up to now has been like a chess game for Xehanort. This is also depicted in the intro for the game. So if you play Kingdom Hearts 3 and you see the intro for the Kingdom Hearts 3, the whole thing is kind of plays out as if like a whole story is being played like a chess game. So so there are some secret reports. So in every game you find secret reports. I haven't mentioned them before because you're basically like stuff that gets set up later, so I was like, there's no point mentioning it. But in this one, there's something that gets mentioned that probably will get mentioned later in the game, but they haven't mentioned yet. So but they mentioned about the girl, that's the same one that Ansem the Wise was, or Ansem Secret Darkness was trying to get more information from Ansem the Wise. But yeah, there was a girl with amnesia, and she was like a test subject. This was also mentioned by Lee. So Lee and Isa would sneak into Ansem the Wise's study and go see this girl. We don't know who this girl is. Same kind of with Name a Star, we don't know who she is either. But the theory points to her being Scold. But again, we don't know. It's just theories at this point. And then as for the voice acting, I wanted to mention that young Eric was played by Drake Bell. Okay. So, noticeable voice actor replacements. So, old Xehanort was actually replaced because Leonard Nimoy had passed away. He was replaced by Rugar Hare. I'm butchering that name, I apologize. He actually then passed away. So when they got around to doing voice acting for we needed voice acting for the DLC. They needed more Xehanort lines, but you know, Rugar had passed away, so he was then replaced by Christopher Lloyd. But you know who Christopher Lloyd is? That's Doc Brown from Back to the Future. So he now plays Xehanort. Kyrie was replaced by Alison Stoner again. They haven't asked Hayden Panettiere to come back, the voicer. So I think just moving forward, it's just gonna be Alison Stoner from now on. So she's basically playing Kyrie and Shion. Alison Stoner was also danced in the Missy Elliott videos when she was a little girl. Was that her? That was her, huh? Oh my god, yeah, and she was also in the she's also in is she also in the Eminem music video? One of them? I think she is. It is her. Okay. That's cool. Okay, I know what it is now. Okay. And then we get to some other characters here. So Woody is played by Jim Hanks, which is Tom Hanks' brother. Mike McCree. She also did a short on Disney Channel called Mike's Super Short. Yeah, okay, yeah, and I remember that too. Okay, yeah, I know exactly what it is now. Like a Disney commercial. Yeah. That's really cool. So Buzz was played by Mac McRae, replacing Tim Allen. Which that one was pretty noticeable. Also the Woody too. Jim Hanks and Mike McRae. Like I could tell that wasn't them. You could tell it wasn't Tom Hanks and Tim Allen. Like the voices, they do get a decent job doing those voices, but you could tell that there's a difference. This one I didn't know. This one I didn't catch on because it did sound like John Goodman, but John Goodman not play solely in this. He was replaced by Christopher Swindle, and also Mike Wazowski was placed. Billy Crystal replaced him with Carlos replaced Billy Crystal. Carlos Alazariki. I'm butchering that name. I apologize. Randall replaced so JP, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Magnox? I don't know, I apologize, but he replaced Steve Buscemi for Randall. Jared Butler in this replaced James Earl Taylor for Jack Sparrow. So James Earl Taylor was playing Jack Sparrow in Kingdom Hearts 2, but is now Jack Sparrow's been played by Jared Butler. Robert Atkin Downs replaced Bill Nye for Davy Jones. Kelsey Lansdowne replaced Mandy Moore for Rapunzel. I didn't know Mandy Moore played Rapunzel until I was looking into this, and I thought that they had gotten Mandy Moore to play Rapunzel. I thought it was original voice actors, but I guess I was wrong. They also got Tom Kenny to replace Ken Sansom for Rabbit in Winnie the Pooh. And for those who know Tom Kenny, that's SpongeBob, as well as several other characters. But yeah, most notably is SpongeBob. Also, the voice actors for Hayner Pencil and Alette were also replaced with new ones, which I didn't know either. So the reprising voice actors though, Kevin McNally played Gibbs again, Mr. Gibbs. Zachary Levi came back for Flynn Rider and Tangled. Donna Murphy played Mother Gothel again. Anna is once again played by Kristen Bell. Elsa is played by Anita Menzel. I'm butchering that first name. Adina Menzel. Jonathan Golfer came back for Kristoff. Wow, I can't believe I put Jash. I'm supposed to be Josh. Type on my end, but Josh Gad again playing Olaf. Ryan Potter for Hero and Big Hero 6. Scott Adsit for Baymax, TJ Miller for Fred, and Genesis Rodriguez for Honey Lemon, all from Big Hero 6. The worlds that you explore in this are the Dark World, which is Realm of Darkness, Radiant Garden, Twilight Town, Mysterious Tower, Disney Castle, Castle Oblivion, Land of Departure, Keyblade Graveyard, Skelecom, Distant Island, The Final World, Olympus, which is Hercules, 100 Acre Wood, Toy Box, which is Toy Story, Kingdom of Corona, which is Tangled, Monstropolis, Monsters Inc., Arendelle, which is Frozen, the Caribbean, which is Pirates of the Caribbean 3, and San Francisco, which is Big Hero 6. Here's Sora, Kairi, and Riku here. What they look like in this game. There's Mickey with new clothes, his new clothes. This is Yozora, which I don't know why Rex thought that Riku, or that Sora looks like Yozora, because he more looks like Riku, if anything. But anyways, regardless. Here's this is some of the world you go to. So here's Sora in Toy Box. This is Hammer Pencil Let, they get new outfits as well. Here's the thing about, actually, here's another thing too. I'll point out right now because I'm looking at it and it's in front of me. So Pence is wearing a Dog Street shirt, and this is actually a reference to another game that another Square Enix game that Nomura worked on, and that was the Bouncer. So that Dog Street is actually the name of the group that you play as in that game. So there's Pirates of the Caribbean. This thing I want to point out. So in the first game, Sora does not look like, it's funny, they went with a realistic look for that world, but Sora still looks cartoony. In this world, they actually fixed it. So Sora actually looks a little realistic here and actually fits in with Pirates of the Caribbean as well. That gave him a pirate suit. So yeah, so this is why I wanted to point out in Kingdom Hearts 2. So and then this is actually in the DLC. I want to show off that, you know, they're Riku talking with Yuffie and Leon, or aka Squall from Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy 8. This is Dark Aqua when they go fighter. Here's Terranort Wars Will round 2. I wanted to point this out, so this is actually kind of exciting me. So this is Roxas meeting Ventus for the first time. And because of the fact that they both look alike, someone created this whole Spider-Man meme, and whoever made this, whoever you are, you did an awesome job. I love this meme. That was a great meme. And then I just wanted to show off Nabane and Shion here, best girls here. And then they got, this is at the end of the game. They're all the characters met on Destiny Island for like a little party or whatever. This is Skelecom right here. That gets built on top of the destroyed Daybreak Town. Here's Tirothy and Sora meeting the world, and the world is what the end of the world looks like. This is the Guardian fight that I was mentioning, where all the Keyblade wielders were fighting the replicas of Xehanort. And then this is the city that Riku and Sora wake up in, the real 6 city I was talking about. 104 building that Yozora and Sora fight on top of. And you can tell that this is like recreation of Tokyo right here. Like, all right, so Millennium Memory. This was the last game that's been released. This is actually a rhythm game. It was released after Kingdom Hearts 3 it was released on PS4, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox One. So it focuses on Kairi. There's not a lot to the story, because most of it's just a recap of everything, and then there's some extra stuff at the end. So focus on Kairi, who goes into a deep sleep and to search for a heart for clues to find Sora. She's for like a year while being studied by Ansel the Wise, Evan, and Yenza. She recalls her past and Sora's adventures while you as a player are playing all the songs in the series. So you're basically, it's like every single like 200 something songs in the game, you're like playing through all of them. So Kairi finds herself basically at the end of the game, finds herself in the final world again, and starts to remember she was taken by Terranor as a child in Radiant Garden, and was being Radiant Garden was being overrun by Heartless. This is when Terranor goes crazy and starts attacking the world and everything. She was put into a lifeboat. Well, again, there's lifeboats again. Sent off world, hoping she, as a Princess of Light, would find a Keyblade wielder, saying, if you arrive in a world that's neither light nor darkness, but somewhere on the other side, your task will be far from easy. Kairi recovers your heart that was shattered. Heart gets shattered, but it recovers again. And Master Xehanort then appears, created from her heart. So this isn't the actual Master Xehanort. This is like her heart created Master Xehanort, and reminds her of what he said before. The whole if you're arriving in the world, tasks are far from easy. That thing reminds her of that. They fight. Kairi starts to lose. I'm sorry, he reminds her after the fight. But anyway, so they're fighting. Kairi starts to lose, and then Sora takes over Kairi's body and defeats Xehanort. He also does mention that he's like, oh, it's Sora, but I guess you can't hear me from where you are, as if he knows where Sora is. Your voice can't reach us here. So Xehanort reminds Kairi of what was said before to her, and then disappears. And then Kairi awakens from her dreams, from her sleep, and then lets Ansem, Yenzo, and Evan know of Xehanort's words, which Ansem the Wise says that he's probably referring to a fictional world beyond reality. So now we're starting to get into reality and non-reality, fiction and non-fiction. As if Kingdom Hearts isn't already complicated enough to understand. So Riku arrives, fallen. So basically they're saying that he's probably saying that that's where Sora is. He's probably in this fictional world. So Riku arrives right afterwards, and then also the fairy godmother as well. She tells him that the two keys to find Sora, which is Riku and Kairi, and then fairy godmother knows what the third key is, and teleports him to the final world again. And they meet the Nameless Star, which ends up being the third key to find Sora. The Nameless Star tells them that she met with Sora and that what they spoke about. And Riku then mentions his dreams, and the star's like, oh, that must be Quadratum. So there's the name of the world, Quadratum. And that's where Sora is. Sora is in Quadratum. Riku uses the star to create a portal to Quadratum and tells Kairi to stay behind. Kairi later leaves, so Riku goes into the portal, Kairi leaves and goes back to Yensin of what they discover. He tells Donald and Goofy to let the others know. The other Keyblade wielders are searching, basically everyone else is finding Sora. Let them know, hey, we found Sora, we know where he is. You might know where he is. And for Mickey to investigate into the new world and how it relates to the ancient Keyblade wielders. Because he thinks that it might also have to do with the Keyblade wielders, aka the foretellers. Kairi chooses to continue her training, but to do it under Aqua this time. So her and Aqua leave to go train. So this is what the game looks like. It's basically DDR or anything like any kind of rhythm game where you're fighting Heartless and Nobodies and stuff, but they're like musical notes in a way, and you're supposed to fight them at a rhythmic time, whatever. And this is Kairi and Xehanort fighting. This is Kairi, Riku, and her godmother talk about the name of Star. This is baby Kairi again, being put into the lifeboat by Terranort. And then this is Kairi waking up and talking with Evan, Ienzo, Ansem, about like what she kind of found out while sleeping. Okay, so that is basically all the games that have been released, with the exception of what was exception to Missing Link. That's a game that's coming out on mobile. So I do want to go over Kingdom Hearts 4. Did I mention? I did not mention that at all. I guess I will mention. I do apologize. I will mention that Missing Link is basically going to be about. Is going to be about. It picks up where. Unit Cross left off, where Brain wakes up in Scarlet Island. And it appears what happened with that was that Lucio actually approaches Brain, and then it looks like he basically takes over Brain's body, similar to how, which kind of starts to hint towards how Lucio took over Braig's body, or looks like Braig, but then he wakes up as normal self in Scarlet Island years later. So we don't know what's going on there, and we probably will find out more about that in Missing Link, but it takes place after that, and then you're playing as, I think you're playing as another custom character, and you're running on Scarlet Island. That's all we really know about Missing Link, so that's just a quick Missing Link thing. So back to Kingdom Hearts 4 though. So I wanted to go over things that we know going into Kingdom Hearts 4 and what to kind of look for. So we know that Sora's in Quadranum now, which acts as a sort of limbo afterlife. The world of Quadranum is shown to be very realistic. Sora also has new clothes now. We don't know why. The Master of Masters is also there, and we know that his plan has not been fully revealed, but does have something to do with taking on the darkness for good, which we know that his means of taking on the darkness means that sacrificing the people to do that. So we know that he's kind of evil in a way. We also don't know what's inside the black box, but we'll get revealed. And then there's a teaser trailer that dropped that showed some of this, and Charlotzia shows up. So we now know that Charlotzia is there. After she died, somehow she ended up in this world. With Yozora being revealed, Yozora is also revealed to be from Quadranum, which that was from the DLC. And he should be appearing in the game as well, whether that be as a companion or as an enemy, we don't know. Quadranum is considered the realm of unreality compared to a realm of reality where Sora and all the rest of the characters are from. So it's kind of like the opposite of a coin. So we got reality and unreality, and that's when Quadranum is in unreality. It's kind of confusing, and they haven't really explained it yet, so you're just confused about it as I am. The Master of Masters and possibly Lucio have the ability to travel to and from both realms. So we're going to see, Master of Masters, Lucio, and it also seems like we may be... So I'll actually explain this right now. So there's a cutscene where this is at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. There's a cutscene where young Xehanort and young Eraqus are playing chess, and Eraqus wins, which is basically representing Sora beating the organization at the end of 3. And then he clears the board and sets up a new game where it shows 7 pieces against 1. The 7 pieces on the one side representing the Lost Masters, aka the Union leaders, or the foretellers, and then Master of Masters and Lucio, against Sora, which is the one lone piece. So that's an indication we might have to fight all the Lost Masters. We also don't know who's wrapped in white and sent to the future by Lucio. That could easily be Charlotzia. It could be someone else. We don't know. We also don't know what happened to Skuld. So again, another person we have no idea what happened to. And then we just want to show. So this is all from the teaser trailer that dropped. I think like a month ago or something like that. So here's Charlotzia. There's them inside the Spartan building. There's them. Here's Sora fighting a Heartless, and then Sora waking up in his apartment. So actually, you know what's funny? Some people pointed out that this apartment that he wakes up in, is a real apartment that exists in Tokyo, in the one of the districts, and that apartment is actually super ridiculously expensive, apparently, from what I'm told. So yeah, and that's the end of that. That is the end of that. Was there any questions at all? I know that I went over a lot. I'm pretty sure people have a ton of questions. So yeah, we don't know what's going on with Kingdom Hearts 4. There's very little we know. There obviously that's on purpose. Obviously, we don't want to know until the game has coming out. You start from the beginning, please. Oh no! Oh no! So for those who have come in maybe later or halfway through or whatever have you, you know, the VOD will be available obviously until it's not available. But I will be getting this over YouTube, as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream. We went for almost 4 hours. I am not going to talk for the rest of the day. I am done talking. Yeah, it'll be available on YouTube for anyone to watch at whatever later point. And the VOD will be available as well until it's not, when Twitch decides to get rid of it. So I don't know what time you came in, Otis, but thank you for coming in. Oh, did you just now come in? No, you're good. No, you're good. I know it started in the middle of the day, and I know it's, you know, it's the end of the day, so people are probably still at work and stuff, but I mean, it's gonna happen. I started at the end of the night, and then people are gonna be too busy with their after work stuff, so no, you're good. You're good. I guess while I'm waiting for any other questions, we'll go ahead and do some shout outs, because we have some people come in here and hang out, which I'm really glad for that to happen. So Chris, thank you again for the raid. Let me get you a shout out again. I know I shouted you out before, but I'll get a shout out because you're also here the entire time, so thank you for that.
You're breathtaking.
So if there are 42 bosses and y'all are beating them in like 40 minutes, that means you guys are doing a minute a boss. Have you seen my gameplay? Like, I'm gonna be.
All right, then we got Seth in training.
You're breathtaking.
He was here for the beginning, then he came back a little late after he saw. Oh no, this one again. Seth came in after his after watching what was it, Doctor Strange. Which that's another thing too I want to mention too for Kingdom Hearts 4. There is a part in the trailer where you see like the foot of a you see like the foot of a which I'll try and pull up if I can find it. You actually exit out of that. You see the foot of a ATST. Right. So that's speculation that we might actually be seeing Star Wars in Kingdom Hearts 4. Yeah, so right here, so it's showing this as panning upwards, and then we see this in the background, and this looks like the foot of an ATST. So yeah, it would be neat, right? So we might be seeing that. We might be seeing other more realistic Disney properties as well, because now that we're going to be going this is a more realistic world, we don't know for sure though. Okay, back to the shoutouts though. I also want to thank Day and Black. He's on stream, but thank you for all the the biddies from earlier. Poor guy was hanging out for a little bit.
You're breathtaking.
I bet you have to finish it. Hey. Hey. Hey.
I guess another thing too is if you watch the VOD or watch the YouTube version, that you'll be able to watch it without ads. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of ads that popped up while I was going through my presentation here. Clover was in here for a little bit. She hosted too, so thank you for the host.
Droids can get into vehicles. Well, why is that? Let the droids drive a vehicle if they.
Doing some Lego Star Wars.
Excuse me.
Stu is in here. We'll go
You're
Stu, shout out.
breathtaking.
Come here, you fuck. That's it.
Playing Elite Dangerous as
That's
he
it.
usually does.
That's it.
And I'll also give you a shout out to trying to shout out your Dim Frenemies channel.
You're breathtaking.
There you go. I got it right.
I think he's unhappy being up there that much. Fucking fruit fly, god damn it.
What game is that?
I don't think I got it.
Oh, you're trying to kill a fly? It looks so different with the lights in the background. Was there any other questions at all? Did I cover everything or anything that was confusing to people? Yeah, yeah, it looks like an old one. That was back when it was you and Coop, it looks like, right? I'll go ahead and you know, I do want to play the trailer for 1 second. For trailer for Kingdom Hearts 4 real quick. Ooh, the She-Hulk trailer drop. I'll have to watch that later. Pause the music. Uh-oh, there we go.
自分が望む結末ではなかったと絶望するのなら、他の世界に退場すればいい。選択肢は無限にあるはずだ。
あなたはこの世界に来て7日間ずっと眠っていたの。ここはクワットラトゥム、聖者の世界ではあるけれど、私たちにとっては死の世界ってことになるみたい。
Hurry up! Guess it was a little loud, sorry about that.
一度退場すれば元の世界に戻れると思うな。
It's still so weird to hear them speak Japanese. Never used to it. Okay. All right, so there doesn't appear to be any questions or anything, so I will end the stream here. We are gonna go see who is available for a